Don't. Stop kissing me. Julianne Hale gently pushed Leo Miller away. Her face flushed as she whispered, "Everyone's watching." At her words, Leo finally noticed the other 3 people staring at them. A faint blush crept up his own neck. He slung an arm around Damian Sterling's shoulders. "Come on, Sterling. I'll take you to light some fireworks." Damian narrowed his eyes, a smirk playing on his lips. "I never thought I'd see the day. You can actually blush." Leo squeezed his shoulder. "Shut it. You talk too much." He rummaged through the pile of pyrotechnics, grabbing several boxes of fireworks with varying degrees of power, and led Damian a short distance away. The 3 girls stayed behind, content to play with the more colorful, less concussive options. Fireworks or firecrackers, which was more fun. It was a hard call, but Leo had always preferred the loud ones. Especially the big skyrockets, the kind you could toss into a river and watch the water explode upwards. It was awesome. That, and using them to blow up random dirt patches and hollow logs. Leo walked over to the small river where they'd been setting off Roman candles earlier, aiming his phone's flashlight at the ground as he searched for something. Damian, trailing behind him, asked curiously, "What are you looking for, Miller?" "Weird. I swear I saw a stainless steel bowl here when we were lighting the other stuff." "Where'd it go?" Leo bent lower, scanning the grassy bank. "I found it." He picked up a steel bowl from a bush. It was already dented and warped, with clear scorch marks from previous explosions. Obviously, someone had used it as a launch pad, then carelessly tossed it aside. Damian looked puzzled. "Isn't that a dog bowl?" "Probably some little terror from the project stole someone's dog bowl to mess around with." "Is it really okay for us to use someone's dog bowl?" "It's fine. It's already busted, useless now." Leo used a stick to dig a small hole in the dirt, planting a thick skyrocket in the center. This kind of firework was basically a small stick of dynamite with a fuse. "What's so fun about this?" Damian asked, unimpressed. "You don't get it." Leo grinned at him. "In a minute, you're going to see a dog bowl fly 30 feet in the air. Then you'll get it." He flicked open a lighter, touched the flame to the fuse, and quickly slapped the steel bowl over the top. Then he turned and ran. Seeing Leo bolt like a rabbit, Damian immediately spun around and sprinted in the other direction. Boomf! After a muffled explosion, the stainless steel bowl shot into the sky with a whoosh. The small hole was now a large crater, splattering mud everywhere. Watching the dog bowl soar, Damian couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Fun, right?" "Huh." Leo held up another skyrocket. "This is also great for blowing up cow patties, but you can't find those in the city, unfortunately." Damian's eyes lit up. Let me try. See if I can launch it higher than you. First, you have to go find the bowl. I think it landed over by the bridge." After retrieving the bowl, they found a new patch of open ground. Damian, mimicking Leo, dug a small hole just big enough to stand the skyrocket in. After lighting the fuse, his first attempt to place the bowl just knocked it crooked. Leo had to run over and reset it for him. Boomf! The firework nearly went off right in front of Leo, but he was fast. By the time he was a safe distance away and turned back, the dog bowl was already on its way down. Clang! The steel bowl hit the concrete path with a sharp ring. "Fun, right?" Leo asked, looking at Damian. Damian nodded enthusiastically. "So much fun, huh?" This was way more thrilling than sparklers. The concussive blast was a jolt to his senses, an addictive, visceral rush he hadn't known he was missing. The 2 of them were having a blast, but the dog bowl was paying the price. Over the next 10 minutes, it was launched into the air more than 20 times. The highest flight hung in the air for several seconds before falling. From a distance, the 3 girls, still playing with sparklers, could hear the boys' idiotic laughter. They couldn't understand what was so fascinating about watching a metal bowl fly. Julianne grumbled, "Are all guys as childish?" Serafina, Rose nodded. "I think so. Damian is always doing inexplicably juvenile things." Susie, waving a sparkler, chimed in. "Totally. The guys in my class are one more childish than the next. They're like 17, and they still argue about Power Rangers during study hall." If Leo and Damian had been there, they would have argued back. "It's not childish. It's called being a man until the day you die. And besides, it's morphin' time." Just as they were getting into the rhythm of their new game, a large black dog came running from the direction of the projects. At first, it seemed friendly enough, but when it got a clear look at the mangled bowl in Damian's hand, it bared its teeth. Woof! Woof! After a few sharp barks, the dog's friendly demeanor vanished, replaced by pure fury as it charged straight for Damian. "Holy crap. Miller, run. Dude, drop the bowl. What the hell?" Seeing the dog lunging, they both spun around and fled. In his panic, Damian completely forgot about the bowl still in his hand. It wasn't until Leo yelled at him that he finally flung it behind him. Clang! The moment the bull hit the ground, the dog stopped chasing them and went to investigate its property. Seeing the pursuit had ended, Leo grabbed Damian's arm. It's okay, it's okay. Phew, that was terrifying. Damian, looking shaken, watched the black dog. The dog sniffed the battered steel bowl, confirming it was indeed its dinner dish. Its expression grew even more ferocious. It opened its mouth and let out a volley of angry barks. Whiff, 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 whiff. The bark seemed to say, "So you're the two jerks who blew up my bowl. You're dead." With another roar, the dog charged them again. Not good, run. Leo grabbed Damian's shirt and they took off again. Why is it still chasing us? Damian cried out, his face a mask of misery. We blew its bowl to bits, what do you think? They hadn't run more than a few steps when a black G-Wagon screeched to a halt in front of them, blocking their path. Seeing them stop, the dog also paused a short distance away, warily eyeing the two boys and the sudden appearance of the vehicle. The driver's side door opened and a man stepped out. Damian stared at him, his brow furrowed. Uncle Alistair? What are you doing here? The man was indeed Damian's third uncle, Alistair Sterling. Alistair's lips curved into a faint, placid smile. It's New Year's Eve, and you didn't come home for dinner. I was worried, so I came to see you. He then turned his gaze to Leo, offering him the same mild smile. Leo, thank you for looking after Damian, for taking him out. Of course, Mr. Sterling. It's no problem, Leo replied, forcing a polite, plastic smile. He had only met Alistair once before, and they'd barely spoken. He had no idea what the man's angle was, so he decided it was best to keep his mouth shut. The less said, the fewer mistakes made. Damian frowned, confused. How did you know I was here? That flashy sports car of yours? There isn't another one like it in all of Ethelberg. It wasn't hard to find you. I just had the car tracked. Besides, in Ethelberg, you don't have any friends besides Leo Miller and Dylan Song. If you weren't with the Songs, you had to be here. The logic was sound. Damian was speechless. Why didn't you come home for dinner tonight? Alistair asked, his tone gentle. Did you have a fight with your father? Damian held up a hand, cutting him off. Uncle, if you're here to convince me to go crawling back to my dad, you can turn around and leave. I will absolutely not give in to him. You? Alistair looked at his stubborn nephew, his smile unwavering. He didn't seem the least bit offended by the interruption. You're just like your father when he was young. Back then, he wasn't so cautious. He'd get an idea in his head and do things that drove your grandfather crazy. Damian remained silent, listening. Do you know why I was willing to give him all my shares in the family company, no strings attached? Why? Damian asked. Leo, standing off to the side, knew his cue. I'm just gonna go use the restroom. Alistair reached out and stopped him. It's fine. It's not a secret. You can stay and listen. Is this really something I should be hearing? Leo thought to himself. Alistair, oblivious to Leo's inner monologue, continued. After your grandfather passed, the family was in chaos. Your second uncle, Marcus, is impetuous and biased. He can't separate business from personal feelings. A man like that can't be trusted with great responsibility. Your father, he isn't the most suitable heir either. He's aggressive, loves to gamble on luck. He's a builder, an empire maker, but not a preserver. And your uncle, me? Well, I have no interest in all this corporate maneuvering. The person your grandfather saw as the best heir was actually you, Damian. Me? Yes. Alistair nodded. That's why, before he died, he put those strange conditions in his will. It was partly to disperse power and prevent a single bad decision from shaking the Sterling family's foundations. But it was also to ensure that once you were ready to start your own family, you could take over the family business more smoothly. But that should be after I graduate from college. Damian bit out. My dad is rushing me into an engagement now. He's forcing my hand. Alistair sighed. Your uncle Marcus is too ambitious. In just 1 year, he's turned the Sterling Group into a mess. If we don't consolidate power soon, the company will collapse long before you graduate. Hearing his uncle's words, Damian fell silent. Leo finally understood why Alistair had so willingly relinquished his shares at that dinner party. Come on, come home with me and talk things through with your father, Alistair said, placing a hand on Damian's shoulder. It's New Year's. No more fighting. Let's just have a peaceful holiday. Later. I'll go back later, Damian said softly, pushing his uncle's hand away. I still want to set off fireworks with my friends. Speaking of fireworks, this dog behind you. Woof, woof, woof. Before Alistair could finish, the black dog, which had been quiet, erupted in a furious volley of barks. The sound startled both boys, instantly reminding them of the terror of being chased. They bolted. Seeing them run, the dog gave chase again. Miller, think of something. We have to lose this dog. What can I do? I can't exactly pull a new bowl out of thin air, can I? Fair point. We did destroy his prized possession. We're lucky it hasn't eaten us yet. Hey, Leo's eyes lit up. You just reminded me, I've got some food in the car. He told Damian to distract the dog, then sprinted to his car. He returned with an armful of meat-based snacks, Slim Jims, beef jerky, the works. Hey buddy, how about a truce? Leo yelled, tossing half a Slim Jim. Have a snack, leave us alone. The dog smelled the meat and slowed its pace, turning to inspect the offering on the ground. After gobbling it down, it retracted its lips, its expression softening considerably. Under Leo's bribery campaign, the black dog was finally pacified. It trotted back home, carrying a small bag of treats and its mangled steel bowl, tail wagging. Pant, pant, pant. Damian finally had a chance to breathe. He leaned on Leo's shoulder, gasping for air. Never again, he said, his face filled with regret. Never blowing up a dog bowl with a firecracker again. TCH, Leo smirked. You were the one laughing the loudest a few minutes ago. Alistair approached them again. You need to go home tonight and clear the air with your father. Understand? I know. Uncle, you can go home now. All right. Alistair nodded. He hadn't walked far when a girl's voice called out. Leo, Damian, my parents are calling me home. I gotta go. See you guys later. Bye. It was Susie. Okay, you get home safe, Leo called back. Damian waved. Bye, Susie. As Susie turned to leave, Alistair, now some distance away, also turned to look back. He frowned at the sight of her retreating figure, but didn't seem to dwell on it. After a moment, he continued on his way. Julianne, who had come over to say goodbye, whispered to Leo, Did your uncle just turn around? Ooh, Sterling's uncle. Nah, he's too far away. You must be seeing things, Jules. In the span of one night, all the fireworks Leo had brought were gone. Afterward, he took Julianne home first. Damian and Serafina, having spent the evening out, had cooled off enough to be willing to go home to Elysian Estates. When they arrived, Serafina's parents were still there, chatting with Damian's. The two teens were awkward at first, sitting silently in the living room. But after a few minutes, the conversation started, things were clarified, and the tense atmosphere eased. Perhaps it was Alistair's words, but Damian, who had been so vehemently against it, had softened his stance on the engagement. Serafina was on the same page as him. If he agreed, she wouldn't object. Their parents chose a date in March. March, when spring was in full bloom, seemed like a fine time for engagement. Seeing their children so cooperative, the parents were beaming. The funds in their frozen accounts were immediately released. With the date set, the parents dove into the specifics of the engagement party. Damian and Serafina, unable to get a word in, slipped out of the living room. They sat in the courtyard, sipping tea and looking up at the sky. Serafina seemed unhappy. The corners of her mouth turned down as she silently drank her tea. Damian noticed. What's wrong? He asked softly. Are you not happy about getting engaged to me? Serafina shook her head. No, of course not. Why would you say that? Because unhappy is written all over your face, Damian pointed out. Huh. Serafina forced a smile. I'm not unhappy. It's just, it all feels so fast. It's like our parents aren't giving us any time. Before she could finish, Damian cut in. Not giving us time to date. Not giving us time to get to know each other better in the small moments of everyday life. Not giving us a buffer. It's all just a process. They just want to see us married so they can get what they want. They treat us like assets, not caring what we actually think. Yes, exactly. His words struck a chord, and Serafina nodded vigorously. It's been like this my whole life. I hate it. I know. And even when we fight back, it's useless. Damian looked into her eyes and gave a bitter smile. Being the family heir felt like a destiny he couldn't escape, even though he didn't want it. Serafina leaned her head gently on his shoulder. At least, she whispered, the person I'm getting engaged to is someone I like. I can tell myself I'm marrying for love. Hey, it's okay. We can still date properly after we're engaged. Damian feigned a casual laugh. What's that saying? Marry first, love later. We'll just do it. Engage first, love later, right? Pfft. Serafina giggled, gently pinching his cheek. Have you been hanging out with Leo too much? You're starting to sound just like him. Haha, you might be right. Damian grinned. Oh, speaking of which, I still haven't paid Miller back for dinner. He pulled out his phone and Venmo'd Leo 5 times the amount of the meal. Leo, fresh out of the shower, heard his phone buzz. He thought it was a message from Julianne, but when he looked, it was a Venmo notification from Damian for a transfer in the 6-figure range. Staring at the amount, Leo sent Damian a baffled text. Damian replied instantly. Miller, thanks for spotting me for dinner tonight. A little something for your trouble. Don't be a stranger. Leo, I only cover a little bit. You don't have to send this much. Damian, it's fine. The extra is for the fireworks and interest. Seriously, keep it. Leo, Your parents unfroze your car tonight? Damian, we talked it out, cleared the air. So yeah, they unfroze my accounts. Leo, what was the price? Damian, the price is that I'm getting engaged to Serafina in March. You'll come to the engagement party, right? Leo, you're really getting engaged. Damian, of course. How else do you think I got the money to pay you back? Reading Damian's message, Leo's brow furrowed. It was happening. Damian was getting engaged ahead of schedule. Damian, gotta go, Miller. I'm gonna watch the stars with my girlfriend. Leo, right? Get lost. Ending the chat. Leo placed his phone on the bathroom counter and started blow-drying his hair. Once it was dry, he admired his handsome reflection in the mirror, nodding with satisfaction. Plink. He hadn't even had a few seconds to be narcissistic before a drop of blood fell onto the edge of the sink. He wiped it with his finger, and in the next second, several more drops followed. When he looked up, 2 streams of blood were running from his nose, hanging over his lips like a mustache. If it weren't for the mirror, he wouldn't even have felt it. Whoa, did I seriously get nosebleed for being too handsome? He exclaimed. He quickly grabbed a tissue, wiped his face, then rolled up 2 small pieces and stuffed them into his nostrils. Seeing his reflection with the tissues sticking out of his nose, he was suddenly reminded of that scene from A Chinese Odyssey where the Monkey King shoves paintbrushes up his nostrils. He pointed at the mirror and laughed. Even when I'm trying to look ugly, I'm still dashing. I really am a stud. Crap, it's bleeding again. The tissues in his nose were quickly turning red. He grabbed a handful of new ones to replace them. The bleeding took a while to slow down. He'd gone through half a roll of toilet paper. But even while plugging his nose, he didn't forget to text Julianne. She and her mother were staying in the room right next to his, separated only by a wall. After dinner, Charles and Michelle Miller had been so insistent that Clara Hale had graciously accepted their offer for her and her daughter to stay the night at Elysian Estates. Julianne, did the nosebleed stop? Leo, yeah, it stopped. Julianne, what's with you, kid? Why are you suddenly getting a nosebleed in the middle of the night? Don't tell me you were secretly looking at something you shouldn't have. Leo, slander. That's slander. How could I possibly look at naughty things behind your back? Julianne, then why the nosebleed? Leo, probably because New Year's dinner was too good. Too much rich food. His nose finally under control, Leo lay in bed and continued texting Julianne. Leo, I just asked my AI. It says eating too many rich, nourishing foods can make you run hot. Nosebleeds are a symptom. Julianne, wow, you're using an AI to diagnose yourself now. Leo, you don't get it. This is called a cyber consultation. Julianne, well, if you're running so hot, maybe you should take all your clothes off and run a few laps outside. Let the winter chill cool you down. Follow it up with an ice-cold Coke. That'll fix you for sure. Leo, thanks, my little angel of death. Julianne, ha. Leo, I just found a home remedy online, but I need your help. Julianne, how can I help you? At that moment, the innocent Julianne had no idea what was wrong with Leo's question. Leo, it says when a guy is running hot, he should find a girl to. After reading the rest of his message, Julianne's vision went dark. Get lost. Are you trying to use me as your personal fire extinguisher? Leo, why are you yelling at me? It's what the internet said. Pouting emoji. Julianne, my mom is lying right next to me. If she saw our chat history, you'd die of social embarrassment. Leo, it's fine. If anyone's dying of embarrassment, it'll be you first. Julianne, you've gotten so vicious. Leo, I learned from the best. Leo, so you really can't sneak into my room tonight? Julianne, no way. My mom is sleeping with me. And this is your house. I wouldn't dare. Leo, all right. Leo, sigh. So tired. We're just one wall apart, but it feels like a long-distance relationship. Julianne, ha. Are you trying to kill me with laughter? Leo, it's true. Isn't this just like online dating? Julianne, it is. Julianne, so go to sleep. We'll see each other in the morning. Leo, okay, whatever my baby says. The next day, after breakfast at the Millers, Leo drove Clara and Julianne back to their new house. Since Leo had to go visit relatives with his parents and Julianne had to spend the holiday with her mother, the two of them began a long-distance relationship that would last for more than 10 days. During the New Year holiday, it seemed like everyone was either eating or on the way to eat. Lunches and dinners were booked solid with an endless stream of parties and banquets. It was busier than a work week. Luckily, no one scheduled morning festivities. Otherwise, a college student like Leo, who slept until noon, would never make it. During this time, Damian and Serafina also entered a long-distance phase, though they still saw each other occasionally when their families attended important events together. News that they were getting engaged in March quickly reached Marcus Sterling. The news kept him up for several nights. Lack of sleep soured his mood, which made him impulsive and irritable. Add a little alcohol, and Marcus Sterling turned into a domestic abuse machine. His rage was impotent, so every time he got drunk, he took it out on his wife and son. In his drunken stupors, he was the spitting image of his son, Nico, when he lost his temper. No, that wasn't right. A father isn't the image of his son. It was the other way around. When Nico lost his temper, he was the spitting image of his father in a drunken rage, right down to the way he threw a punch. To protect his mother, Nico would always fight back against his father. But whether it was due to some primal bloodline instinct or the fact that his mother always tried to intervene by grabbing his arms, hampering his ability to fight, he always ended up being the one who got beaten. Afterward, Nico would go find Jason Jang to drink and vent his fury. The Jang father-son duo had had enough of the two Sterling psychopaths. Every time Nico showed up, Jason had to arrange for some down-on-their-luck gamblers who owed loan sharks money to let Nico beat them up. And every time Marcus Sterling came to see Victor Jang, Victor knew he was there to borrow money. That was the secret to Marcus's confidence in opposing his older brother. A steady stream of dirty money from the Jang family, which he used to buy loyalty and acquire Sterling Group shares at a premium. At first, Victor Jang was more than willing. After all, little of the Jang family's money was clean. Laundering it through Marcus turned it into legitimate company stock. When Marcus eventually took over, it would be time to reap the rewards. But as Marcus's borrowing increased, Victor's own reserves began to dwindle. The power struggle at the Sterling Group was a bottomless money pit. With the Jang family's liquid assets shrinking and expenses exceeding income, Victor started to get scared. He feared that if Marcus failed in his coup, all his investments would be for nothing. Though Marcus repeatedly assured him that the shares would still be valid even if he lost, Victor didn't dare risk the entire future of the Jang family. Besides, they were truly out of money to invest. So, on the 8th day of a new year, Victor Jang called his son into his office to discuss the family's future. When he learned they were out of cash, Jason calmly produced several credit cards from a foreign bank and placed them on his father's desk. When Victor Jang heard the balance on those cards, he shot up from his chair as if he'd been electrocuted, his hair standing on end. He stared at his son as if he'd seen a ghost. "I just asked you to watch over a casino. How did you make this much money from loan sharking?" Jason tilted his head back proudly. "I made a small tweak to the business model. Added a new revenue stream, sending talent overseas. I just happened to make a little extra cash off some foreigners." "Dad, you don't have to be so dramatic." Hearing this, Victor Jang realized what he meant. His eyes widened in horror. "Jason, you dare to get into the one-way ticket business? Do you have a death wish?" Victor cursed viciously, raising his hand to slap his son, but Jason blocked it. Dad, calm down, listen to me. Here's what happened." Jason whispered the details of the operation in his father's ear. "I've covered all the tracks. Nothing will go wrong. And the money comes in so fast. I've thought it through. Even if Marcus Sterling can't beat his brother, it doesn't matter. As long as we keep this pipeline running, we can make money quietly, build up the Jang family. Then who cares about the so-called four great families? Who cares about the Sterlings? All of Ethelbert will be ours. Ha!" After hearing his son's plan, Victor Jang's scalp tingled. He had run the Jang family's gray market operations for years and thought himself ruthless, but he never imagined his own son would be even more vicious. Still, his son had a point. Victor fell silent, his silence a tacit approval of Jason's methods. The busy New Year holiday ended, and soon it was time for the spring semester to begin at the Royal Academy. After more than 2 weeks of their long-distance relationship, Liu Muye and Julianne Hale were finally reunited. The first night they saw each other, they checked into a hotel. Don't ask why. Ask why the dorms weren't open yet. Dorms are closed. You don't want to stay at home. It's perfectly reasonable for a young couple to spend a night in a hotel, right? The next morning, Julianne woke up refreshed and full of energy. Leo, on the other hand, had 2 giant dark circles under his eyes and looked completely drained. He glanced at the time on his phone. Still early. He lay back down. Julianne emerged from the bathroom after brushing her teeth and saw him, still dozing. She gently nudged him. "Lazybones, get up. Still sleeping? The dorm's open today, and you promised you'd help me move my stuff. It's still early. Just let me rest a little longer. I'm really so tired." Leo's words trailed off into a soft snore. He was so exhausted he could fall asleep mid-sentence. Julianne sat on the edge of the bed. Seeing how dead to the world he was, she decided not to rush him. She lifted the covers, sat beside him, and idly scrolled through TikTok. Even in his sleep, Leo wasn't still. He wrapped his arms around Julianne's leg and nuzzled his cheek against it. In his dream, he was hugging a fragrant, roasted chicken leg, too precious to eat. Julianne saw the faintly lecherous smile on his face and poked his cheek with her finger, muttering softly, "You're completely drained, and you're still thinking about dirty things in your dreams. No wonder you have no energy." About an hour later, a call from Damian Sterling woke Leo from his sweet dream. "Hello," he mumbled into the phone. "Miller, why aren't you at school yet? What time is it? Why would I be at school so early? It's almost noon. Didn't you say you were helping Julianne and Serafina move into their dorm this morning?" "What? Almost noon?" Leo's eyes shot open. "Yeah, man. Hurry up and get here. Serafina and I are heading to the cafeteria for lunch." Damian hung up. Julianne, still sitting on the bed, added, "It's 11 o'clock in 3 minutes, by the way." "Ugh, why didn't you wake me up?" Leo looked up at her, bewildered. "You were sleeping so soundly, I didn't have the heart to," Julianne said, gently running her nails through his hair. Her voice was laced with a sultry, teasing tone. "What were you dreaming about, my little stamina-less wonder?" "Get off, you the stamina-less wonder." Leo scrambled out of bed, his face flushed, and disappeared into the bathroom. After a quick wash-up, the two of them left the hotel and drove to campus. It was Sunday, and classes didn't officially start until Monday, but the entrance was already bustling with rich kids arriving in their families' luxury cars. At the gate, Leo spotted Ethan Cole. His family's driver was dropping him and Jessica off in a Bentley, but because their license plate wasn't registered with the university, they were stuck at the automated gate and had to go to the security office for a temporary pass. That's how it was at the Royal Academy. No matter how fancy your car was, if it wasn't registered, it wasn't getting in. Leo, however, didn't have such problems. Before his car even reached the gate, the security guard had already raised the barrier. Even if the guard didn't recognize Leo, he recognized the car and its conspicuous A66666 license plate. You couldn't find a second custom Rolls-Royce like it in all of Ethelbert. The car was registered under Charles Miller's name. Speaking of plates, Leo thought about his Koenigsegg, with its A00817 plate, 817 for his birthday, August 17th. According to his father, the car and the plate were his 18th birthday present. But since Leo had entered the book world after he was already 18, he had no memory of it. He hadn't been reborn or possessed a body. He had been created out of thin air as Charles Miller's son. He had no memories of his own past, and Charles and Michelle's memories of their son had been retroactively filled in by the world's self-correcting logic, like a system automatically patching a bug. Leo sometimes wondered if, since he created this world, he could find and exploit its logical loopholes. But so far, he hadn't found a single one. Wait, that 3K race was a huge one. He'd almost forgotten. Leo, Ethan Cole, saw his car and rolled down his window to greet him. Leo rolled down his own window and smiled. "You should just register your car with security. Save you the trouble next time you come to pick up Jessica." Sitting next to Ethan, Jessica blushed and looked down. "Ah," Ethan laughed. "No need. I'm not a student here. It'd be too much trouble to register." "Not at all. Not at all," Leo said with a wave. "Just talk to the guard." The security guard, seeing how familiar Ethan was with Leo, chimed in. Yes, it's no trouble at all. If you'd like to register, we can do it for you right now. It will only take a few minutes." "Well, all right then. Thank you for the trouble." Ethan gave the guard a friendly smile. Then he looked back at Leo, a humble, refined smile on his face. "And thank you, Leo, for putting in a good word for me. Don't be so formal, huh? I'm heading in." "All right, you guys go on ahead." Leo hadn't even reached the girls' dorm when he saw Damian's car parked out front. Damian hadn't driven his sports car today. He'd specifically brought an SUV with a large trunk to help Serafina move. Although the new two-person dorm was only a few hundred yards away, moving a lot of stuff back and forth would be exhausting. Leo parked next to him. Julianne got out, said hi to Damian, and went upstairs to start packing. While the girls were gathering their things, Leo and Damian leaned against their cars, chatting. "Miller, I'm freaking out right now." "What's wrong?" "It's almost March." "What's wrong with March? Did you already forget what I told you on New Year's Eve?" "Oh, right. The engagement." Leo nodded. "I remember. So what's the problem?" "I'm panicking. I can't sleep at night. I have nightmares. Sometimes I hear a baby crying in the middle of the night. You have no idea how terrifying it is." "Is it that serious? You're just getting engaged, not married. What's there to panic about?" "I don't know. I just think about the engagement, and then I think about getting married and then having kids." "Wait, the girl is the one who has the baby. What are you panicking for?" "I panic too. Whenever I think about the engagement and all the messy, trivial things that come after it, I get this feeling of dread." "What's wrong with me?" Damian turned to Leo, his face a mask of anxiety. Leo stroked his chin, studying Damian for a moment. You know, I think you might have premarital anxiety. Premarital anxiety? Damian gave a hollow, empty laugh. Maybe. But tell me, if you suddenly found out you were getting engaged to Julianne in March, wouldn't you get too? Me, engaged to Julianne. At Damian's question, Leo started to imagine it. Before he'd entered this world, as a poor writer, he'd never dreamed of being able to afford to get married and have a family. But now he had the money, and he was marrying the girl he loved. He would give Julianne the most magnificent wedding. The engagement party would be at the most exclusive hotel in Ethelbert. The gifts and dowry would be as lavish as possible. The party favors would be in high-end gift boxes, and every guest would get a $10,000 cash gift. No, that's too thick to fit in an envelope. A 10-gram gold bar for everyone then. Then, under the adoring and envious gazes of everyone present, he would pull out the most dazzling diamond ring and place it on Julianne's finger, making her the envy of every woman in the room. The thought made him grin. Forget anxiety. He was actually looking forward to it. Hey, what are you smiling about? Damian stared at Leo, who couldn't seem to suppress his grin. You're not anxious at all? Nope. Leo shook his head, snapping back to reality. Why would I be anxious about marrying the girl I love? But, Damian hesitated. He asked himself, was Serafina the girl he loved? The answer was yes, of course he loved her. But liking someone was one thing, and marriage was another. They say marriage is the death of romance. The thought that one day his feelings for Serafina would fade due to the routine of marriage terrified him. He didn't want their love to just become calm. That wasn't the love he wanted. Stop overthinking it. Leo clapped Damian on the shoulder. Instead of worrying about an uncertain future, just live in the present. I shouldn't think about the future. Dude, you're the heir to the sterling fortune. You have enough money to live happily for the rest of your life. If you're afraid a kid will get in the way of your romance, you can hire a dozen nannies to raise it. You and Serafina can just live your lives together, same as now. Nothing will change, except you'll be twice as happy. So why worry about the future? Really? Of course. And besides, if you really love Serafina, you should be worried about her. She's the girl. She's probably even more anxious about getting married than you are. Oh, right. I'm not a very good fiancé, am I? Damian said with a self-deprecating laugh. Stop chatting and come help us with our stuff. Julianne called from the dorm entrance, waving them over. Coming. Leo called back, jogging over. They had a ton of luggage. It took several trips to get everything down. Both their SUVs were packed to the brim, with no space left. Even Ethan Cole's car was roped into service. Leo had flagged him down as he was dropping Jessica off. 3 cars in total were needed to transport the 2 girls' belongings. When they parked at the 2-person dorm building, Tyler happened to be walking by and was promptly recruited by Leo as free labor. With Tyler, Ethan, and Ethan's driver, that was 3 extra guys. Add Leo, Damian, and the 2 girls, and that made 8 people. The building had 4 elevators, so they got all the luggage upstairs in one trip. As a thank you, Leo gave each of the helpers a bottle of Coke. Damian was about to go back to his room and gift them his precious instant ramen, but Leo thankfully stopped him. The dorm Leo had arranged for Julianne and Serafina was right next to theirs, separated only by a wall. They could easily visit each other for tea and a chat. And yes, just tea and a chat. Don't get any unhealthy ideas. Leo was already exhausted from a sleepless night at the hotel, no breakfast, and a morning of moving. After helping Julianne make her bed, he was so hungry and tired that his vision went black, and he collapsed on her new mattress. Julianne, seeing him suddenly faint, let out a sharp scream. The sound brought Serafina and Damian running from the next room. Without a word, Damian threw Leo onto his back and sprinted towards the campus clinic. But before they even got there, Leo woke up. After an examination, the doctor simply gave him a small bottle of glucose solution. It's just low blood sugar, the doctor said. Drink this, get some rest, and then go eat a proper meal. Young people shouldn't be skipping breakfast. It's bad for you. Okay, thank you, doctor, Leo nodded, downing the glucose in one go. After leaving the clinic, he and Julianne headed straight for the cafeteria. Eat more, eat more. Don't faint again. During lunch, Julianne kept piling meat from her own plate onto Leo's. He blushed, a little embarrassed by all the special attention. Ahem, I'm not that weak. What happened earlier was just a small accident. Julianne's eyes crinkled in a mischievous smile. Oh, I never said you were weak. Why are you so defensive about it? Leo froze, then realized what she was doing. Stop teasing me. See? You're getting flustered again. She picked up another piece of meat and placed it in his bowl. Okay, calm down. Eat up. That's enough. That's enough. You're giving me all your meat. What are you going to eat? It's fine. I'll just have the vegetables. I ate so much rich food over the holiday. Some greens actually sound better. So you just giving me your leftovers, is that it? How can you say that? Julianne pouted and glared at him. If you don't want it, give it back. And here I was, giving you all my meat. She feigned reaching for his bowl with her chopsticks. I'll eat. Who said I wouldn't? Leo quickly scooped up a mouthful of meat. Food from my girlfriend's plate really does taste better. Oh, stop it. Your acting is so fake, she said, before lowering her head to eat. After a few bites, Leo's phone buzzed. He picked it up and saw a message from his family's butler. He'd asked the butler to help find a job for Julianne's mother in the university's logistics department. The matter was settled, and the butler was reporting back. Leo finished reading and looked up at Julianne. Before he could even speak, she had already guessed. Is it about my mom's job? She asked. Wait, do you have x-ray vision? Leo looked at the back of his phone, then back at her. Or are you a mind reader? How did you guess that in 1 second? You looked at your phone and then immediately looked at me. I didn't even have to guess to know it had something to do with me, Julianne said, putting down her chopsticks. Today's the first day of school. The only thing I needed your help with was moving. Now that that's done, what else could it be besides my mom's job? Julianne, with a brain like that, why are you even writing novels? Leo tapped her on the forehead. You make a killing as a private investigator. Hey, I've actually thought about writing a crime thriller. Julianne's eyes lit up. Maybe after I finish this book, I'll try a suspense novel for my next one. You totally should. Leo launched into an analysis. Suspense novels earn more than slice-of-life romance, but they're harder to write. If you get it wrong, the readers will tear you apart. In the female-oriented fiction space, you could do a mix of celebrity world drama, romance, and mystery. Seeing him get carried away, Julianne held up a hand. Okay, that's enough. Eat your food before it gets cold. But wait, let me just finish. Nope, zip it. Julianne put her hands on her hips, her expression like a kindergarten teacher scolding a child. Eat your food like a good boy, or I'll get mad. Eating. Leo immediately shut up and buried his head in his food. See? That's a good boy. Watching him devour his meal in silence, Julianne reached out and gently stroked his fluffy hair. The simple gesture made Leo grin like an idiot. See? Girls who study early childhood education are born with the ability to train their boyfriends. And I mean that in a completely wholesome way. If your mind went somewhere else, go stand in a corner. After lunch, Leo drove Julianne home to help her mother, Clara, pack her things for the move to campus. Although the new house was less than a mile from the university, a short 10-minute ride on an e-scooter, Clara had decided to live in the staff dorms. First, it was more convenient. Second, living alone in such a large house felt empty and a little lonely at night. The staff dorms at the Royal Academy were quite nice. There were single rooms, though small, and without a private bathroom. But it was a world away from the factory dorms Clara used to live in, with 8 or 9 people crammed into bunk beds. With Clara moving to campus, the new villa Leo had bought for her would be sitting empty. But that was normal. The Millers rarely stayed at Elysian Estates themselves, with Charles and Michelle being so busy they were lucky to be home 1 or 2 days a week. The university provided brand new bedding, so Clara didn't have much to pack. She just brought a few changes of clothes and daily necessities like a towel, toothbrush, and slippers, all of which fit into a single suitcase. By the time Leo and Julianne arrived, she was already packed and waiting in the living room. At the university, after filling out the paperwork and completing the onboarding process, the head of the logistics department personally escorted them to the staff dorms. The building was in the residential area of campus, behind the student dorms. It was a large, 8-story building, with the bottom 4 floors for male employees and the top 4 for female employees. Once Clara was settled, she spoke apologetically. Leo, I've really troubled you, pulling strings to find me a job. Leo smiled. Annie Clara, don't say that. The whole Royal Academy belongs to my family. When Julianne and I get married, it'll be our families too. So when you're here, just think of it as being home. Don't be a stranger. If you have any problems, just contact me. If you can't reach me, call the head of logistics. I've already spoken with him. Okay, thank you. Leo glanced at his watch and said to Julianne, it's still early. Why don't you show your mom around campus? I'm going to stop by the SGA office. It was the beginning of the semester, and he knew there would be a million things to do. He was worried Mr. Chase couldn't handle it all. Okay. Julianne nodded, understanding completely. When Leo arrived at the Student Activity Center, a major cleanup was underway. The place hadn't been used in a month, and while it wasn't filthy, a layer of dust had settled everywhere. A line of students was already waiting outside for the center to open. They were all here to shop. To speed things up, Leo jumped right into the cleaning effort. He also grabbed Wyatt Vance and put him to work. Wyatt obviously didn't want to do it, but given Leo's status, he couldn't refuse. Once Wyatt was there, Leo tormented him relentlessly. Hauling buckets of water, sweeping, mopping, washing windows, Leo made him do every job on the third floor by himself. To top it off, he ordered him to drag the trash cans from the entrance all the way to the university's main dumpsters. Watching Wyatt's retreating figure, Tyler remarked, "He cleaned an entire floor by himself and still has the energy to drag those huge trash cans. That Wyatt is really something." Leo glanced at Tyler and smiled. "What? You want to go help him?" Tyler quickly waved his hands. No, I have to go help move things for the coffee shop." "Oh, what are you afraid of?" Leo chuckled. You just reminded me. If he cleaned a whole floor and still has that much energy, he must have slacked off. I should go upstairs and inspect his work." Tyler was speechless. Chloe, standing nearby, piped up, "President, are we being a little too vicious, torturing him like this?" Leo pursed his lips. "He's the one who picked a fight with us. If he wants to go against me, he can't blame me for being ruthless." A cunning glint appeared in his eyes, and a mocking smile played on his lips. Chloe and Tyler saw the change in his expression and exchanged a look. Chloe's eyes said, "The president is becoming more and more like his girlfriend." Tyler's replied, "Maybe that's what they call a power couple." Wyatt thought his ordeal was over after taking out the trash. But when he returned, Leo called him back to the third floor, told him the cleaning wasn't good enough, and ordered him to do it all over again, this time under his direct supervision. Having had enough, Wyatt finally snapped. "I'm not taking this crap from you anymore. I'm done." Leo just looked at him and said calmly, "I'm quitting the student government. Do you understand me?" "Fine. If you want to quit, then quit. Why are you yelling?" Leo said, crossing his arms. "Just follow the procedure to leave the SGA." Seeing Leo's indifferent attitude, Wyatt went from angry to full-on tilted. "I'm not just quitting. I'm taking all my old members from the External Affairs Committee with me. Once I leave, people from other departments will follow. When we're all gone, let's see what you do with your precious student government." Leo raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure you want to take your friends with you?" "I'm sure. Absolutely sure." Wyatt thought he had finally threatened Leo, and the red flush on his face began to subside. "I'm taking all my friends with me." "That's great. It's a deal. A double blessing." Leo's face broke into a wide smile. "With all you useless people gone, the SGA can recruit new, competent students." "Ha ha ha." Aord. Wyatt let out a primal scream of frustration and collapsed onto the floor, clutching his chest. He felt like he was having a heart attack. He couldn't breathe. You. Me what?" Leo glared down at him. "It's too late to take it back. I'm giving you 10 minutes to submit your resignation request on the SGA portal." "Leo Miller, you're pushing me too far." "Stop." Tears started streaming down Wyatt's face. "Crying?" "The clock is still ticking," Leo said, glancing at his watch. "You have 9 minutes and 40 seconds left. Get writing. I hate the student government." Wyatt scrambled up from the floor, shouted one last time, and then ran out of the student activity center, sobbing. Jessica and Ethan walked up the stairs, looking bewildered. "What's wrong with Wyatt?" Jessica asked. "No idea," Leo said with an innocent shrug. "Maybe he's just sad about leaving the SGA. Well, never mind him." Jessica smiled and walked over. "Here are last month's financial reports for the campus commons businesses. You should take a look, President." "Too many words. I can't be bothered." Leo waved his hand. "Just tell me if we made money or lost it." "We made money. We've only been open for a little over a month. The other stores broke even, but the coffee shop is already profitable. On New Year's Day alone, it made a net profit of $20,000. It's incredible." Ethan, who had been quiet, added, "The SAC just opened today, and there were already people buying drinks at the coffee shop. Campus coffee is doing really well." Leo nodded. "Let's go take a look." Sure enough, the coffee shop was bustling. The other stores were quieter. The bookstore was the saddest, with no customers at all. To his surprise, Leo noticed the bookstore was selling festive red envelopes. He bought a dozen packs. Today was the first day back for the SAC employees, and as their boss, he had to give out a welcome back bonus. He stuffed the envelopes with cash, $500 for each employee, $300 for SGA executives, and $100 for regular members. He ended up needing tens of thousands in cash, which he had to get Damian to deliver. At the entrance to the SAC, Leo stood like a god of wealth, handing out envelopes to the queuing SGA members. Word spread quickly. Wyatt, who had just submitted his resignation, realized he had missed out on several $100s, and all his cleaning had been for nothing. The other members he had incited to quit with him also missed out on the bonus. And then, Wyatt's real troubles began. When Leo handed an envelope to Jessica, Ethan was standing right there, so Leo gave him one too. Ethan looked at the envelope in surprise. I get one too? It's not much, just 300. To you, it's probably like a few bucks, haha, just for good luck. I couldn't possibly say that. The meaning of this $300 is worth more than my entire family's fortune. Ethan carefully pocketed the envelope. I don't have a return gift on me right now. Next time, I'll have my grandfather send something to your home. No, really. It's just 300 bucks. No need for a return gift. Leo, of course, understood the implication of Ethan's words, but he pretended not to and waved it off. After leaving the student activity center, Leo went to find Julianne. She had spent the afternoon showing her mother around the Royal Academy campus and had just taken her to the cafeteria for dinner. She texted him that she needed to leave campus for a bit, so Leo drove to the staff dorms to wait for her. He didn't have to wait long. Julianne came running down from the building, holding a transparent tote bag. What's in the bag? Leo asked curiously. It's a hat my mom knitted for Mrs. Gable. Julianne pulled a wool hat out of the bag to show him. Over the holiday, my mom and I went back to the projects to wish Mrs. Gable a happy new year. She mentioned that the winter wind gives her headaches and the hats she buys aren't thick enough. So my mom knitted one for her by hand. It was a cheerful, bright red knitted hat. The style was a bit old-fashioned, clearly meant for an elderly woman. Oh, that's nice. Leo nodded. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Mrs. Gable in a while. Should we bring something for her today? She lives alone and doesn't eat much. Julianne thought for a moment. Maybe we could bring a couple of cans of nutritional powder for seniors. Sounds good. Leo nodded. After leaving campus, they stopped at a membership warehouse store and picked out 2 cans of senior nutritional powder and some other non-perishable supplements. Then they headed for the projects. Leo parked in the same open plaza where they had set off fireworks on New Year's Eve. He and Julianne carried the gifts and walked into the maze of low-income housing. As soon as they entered, Leo felt that something was different. The projects, which had always been messy and chaotic with cars parked haphazardly, were clean today. The roads were clear. Sensing his confusion, Julianne explained with a smile. After the news of the redevelopment broke, the area had become a hub of activity. Various organizations came by daily, and some people went door to door asking to buy houses. Some even trespassed. Their presence had seriously disrupted the lives of the residents. So after the new year, people started calling the police more frequently. The increased call volume led to a stronger police presence, including nightly patrols by beat cops. With more enforcement, the previously squalid environment had quickly improved. Standing in one of the cramped, airless tenement buildings, Julianne looked up at the small, square patch of sky framed by the surrounding walls. Her lips curved into a faint, ironic smile. They only start cleaning up the environment when it's about to be demolished. Huh. Leo copied her, tilting his head back to look at the sky. In that moment, he thought of the story from elementary school, The Frog in the Well. As a child, he never understood why the frog was so foolish as to not jump out and see the world. Later, he realized the well was too deep. The frog had nothing but its own 2 hands and feet. How could it possibly climb out? And even if, with the help of its parents and its own efforts, it did manage to jump out, what then? The world outside was vast, but full of predators. It was safer in the well. So what was so bad about being a frog in a well? Ignorance meant fewer worries. After seeing the bustling world outside, returning to the well you grew up in would only bring a sense of loss and a new set of troubles. What are you thinking about? Julianne gently nudged him out of his reverie. Leo shook his head. Nothing. Let's go. They walked through the projects and onto Market Street. Mrs. Gable was just starting to pack up her vegetable stall. She was bent over, carefully arranging the leftover vegetables, tying them into bunches, and stacking them in a corner of her small shop. The weather was still cool, so the vegetables didn't need to be refrigerated to stay fresh. Her movements were slow, and she could only carry 2 bunches at a time, requiring many trips back and forth. Leo and Julianne immediately walked over, set down their gifts, and started helping her. What can I get for you? Oh my. Mrs. Gable, thinking they were customers, looked up and was surprised to see Julianne and Leo. Oh, it's you, Jules. And little Leo is here too, she exclaimed, her wrinkled face breaking into a warm, kind smile that made her eyes nearly disappear. It's been so long since I've seen you 2 together. Ha, come sit down. She dropped the 2 bunches of vegetables she was holding and hurried to get stools for them. Grandma, don't worry about the stools, Leo said quickly. We're not staying to sit. We'll help you pack up. No, I can do it. You're guests. You shouldn't be working. Sit. Leo shook his head. Really, it's fine. You should rest, Grandma. Yes, please, you sit, Julianne said, taking the vegetables from her and handing them to Leo before taking Mrs. Gable's arm. Mrs. Gable held Julianne's hand, and they began to chat. Leo, meanwhile, quickly gathered up all the vegetables and neatly arranged them in foam boxes in the corner. Once he was done, he carried the supplements into the small shop. Before he could say anything, Mrs. Gable began to chide him. You silly child, why did you bring things? I don't eat these. Take them with you when you leave. I won't accept them. Leo smiled. They're not expensive, Grandma. Please accept them. Mrs. Gable waved her hands. No, take them away. Leo said, half jokingly. Are you kicking us out already? We just got here. If you bring gifts, I won't welcome you. Next time, no gifts. Okay, I promise, no gifts next time. But please take these this time. You're taking these back with you too. Oh, Grandma, they're not expensive. It's a small gesture from my heart. Please, just accept them. It was the first time Julianne had heard Leo speak in such a wheedling, high-pitched voice. His pouting act was actually quite amusing. She couldn't help but chuckle. When Mrs. Gable learned that Leo hadn't eaten, she locked up her shop and insisted on taking them home to cook for them. They couldn't refuse her kindness, so they agreed. On the way, they passed the butcher's stall. Big Mike was also closing up. He packed up the leftover scrap ribs and pork leg meat and gave it to Julianne. It was just the remnants, but it was free, so there was nothing to complain about. Big Mike smiled at them. Thanks for taking Susie out to see the fireworks on New Year's Eve. It must have cost you a lot. Not at all, Mr. Mike. Julianne quickly waved her hands. We're old neighbors. You've helped me so much over the years. Taking Susie to see fireworks is nothing. Thank you. After Leo and Julianne left, Big Mike's friendly gaze hardened. He looked in the opposite direction from where they had gone. A nondescript man was at the fruit stand, wearing a hat that obscured his face. Every so often, he would glance over toward the butcher's stall. Is he after them? Or after me? Big Mike muttered under his breath, then continued cleaning up his stall. The man continued to browse the fruit. After making a purchase, he didn't leave. He wandered around a bit, then stopped at the stall next to the butcher's shop, which sold live poultry, and asked about the price of chicken. How much for the chicken? The dressed ones are 25 a pound. Too expensive, the man said, waving his hand dismissively. He then casually ambled over to Big Mike's stall. Big Mike put on a broad, simple-minded smile. Sorry, boss, all out of meat for today. Closing up shop. The man pointed to a pork heart hanging from a hook. Isn't that a pork heart right there? That one. I'm saving to take home for myself. To make soup for your daughter, right? At the mention of the word daughter, Big Mike's gaze turned razor-sharp. Back at Mrs. Gable's house, Leo and Julianne had completely taken over the kitchen. Mrs. Gable had insisted on cooking for them, but now they were the ones cooking for her. While Julianne cooked, Leo cleaned the house. It was already tidy, but there were some hard-to-reach corners that were difficult for an elderly person to clean, which Leo was happy to take care of. By the time he was done, dinner was ready. To accommodate Mrs. Gable, Julianne had made stews. The vegetables were cooked until they were falling apart, but the color and flavor were perfectly preserved. The spices had infused the meat, and the ribs were so tender they fell off the bone. It was perfect with rice. Leo devoured 2 large bowls and was completely full. Mrs. Gable didn't have such a hearty appetite. At her age, her portions were small, and she was full after one small bowl. She ate slowly, chewing every bite carefully. After dinner, Leo insisted on washing the dishes, while Julianne sat with Mrs. Gable in the living room. Mrs. Gable touched the wool hat on her head and smiled at Julianne. Please thank your mother for me. I love the hat she made. I will, Grandma. I'm glad you like it. After you all moved away, I hardly see you anymore. But it's for the best. Your mother is free from that man, and you have a new house in the city. Your hardships are finally over. Mrs. Gable glanced at the figure busy in the kitchen, then turned her gaze back to Julianne's face. Child, you put on weight. That's so good to see. She reached out with a dry, calloused hand and gently stroked Julianne's smooth cheek. Her cloudy eyes welled up with tears. So good. The little, skinny girl she had watched grow up was now a beautiful young woman with a man who cherished her. Mrs. Gable looked at her as if she were her own granddaughter. How could she not be happy for her? Yes, I've gained some weight. Julianne glanced at Leo's back and smiled at Mrs. Gable. He's taking good care of me. We bought a big house. Grandma, you should come live with us. No. I'm old now. I'm attached to this place. I don't want to leave, Mrs. Gable said, shaking her head. My biggest worry used to be that when I passed, I wouldn't be able to face Flora, Julianne's grandmother's nickname. When she was dying, she asked me to take care of you. I didn't have much ability, so I feel like I failed her. But you did so well for yourself. Seeing you happy. Now I can go see your grandmother in peace. Grandma, don't say that. The year has just started. We should be saying lucky things. Julianne said, gently wiping the tears from her cheeks. I hear this place is going to be redeveloped. Lately, strangers have been coming around bringing gifts. They say it's for charity, but I know what they really want is this broken-down old house. Grandma doesn't have much, and this house is all I have left. When you get married, I'll give it to you as a wedding gift. It should be worth something after the demolition, and if I don't live to see your wedding day, I'll put in my will for you. Julianne wanted to say something, but it felt like a stone was lodged in her throat. The only sound that could escape was a sob. She shook her head desperately, tears streaming down her face uncontrollably. For as long as they talked in the living room, Leo washed dishes in the kitchen. He washed until his palms were pale and wrinkled, but he never stepped out. In this life, you will lose many things, and you will gain many things. By losing the one you love most, you learn what it means to grow. By losing something you cherish, you learn what it means to appreciate. By losing your childhood, you understand the joy of being a child. It seems we always lose more than we gain. Notes from Leo Miller. When they left, Mrs. Gable gave Leo and Julianne each a red envelope. They accepted them without protest, because Julianne had already told Leo to hide a much larger sum of money in the kitchen. After they were gone, Mrs. Gable walked into the kitchen and saw the thick envelope tucked under the wooden cutting board. She immediately ran outside after them. But Leo and Julianne were long gone. Inside the thick envelope was a wad of cash. These two children. Sigh. Mrs. Gable sighed and went back inside. In the car, Julianne suddenly asked, Lily, are you looking forward to our engagement? Leo nodded. Of course. But isn't that still a year away? What if we moved it up a bit? Leo glanced at her. Why the sudden change of heart? Julianne said in a playful tone, Damian and his fiancée are getting engaged next month. We can't fall behind. What if we get engaged this summer? Leo thought for a moment. Fine by me. If you want, we could get engaged in March too. No, March is a little too soon. Let's do it in June. Summer break starts at the end of June, right? Done. Leo smiled and nodded. Whatever my baby says goes. I'll listen to you. I love you, moi. Julianne threw her arms around his neck and planted a kiss on his cheek. Hey, stop it, I'm driving. On the first official day of classes, Leo Miller was late for his first period. And he wasn't alone. Damian Sterling, Serafina Rose, and Julianne Hale all stumbled in with him. The four of them had celebrated their new co-ed suite arrangement with a late-night snack run, followed by a marathon session of teamfight tactics that had stretched until 2 in the morning. The curse of just one more win had claimed them all. Fortunately, their first class was with their academic advisor, Mr. Chase, who wasn't about to make a scene. President Miller, perfect timing, he said, smoothly covering for him. Why don't you take attendance? Everyone's still getting back into the swing of things. I won't dock participation points for tardiness on the first day. It was a clear lifeline, offering Leo a way to save face while letting Mr. Chase maintain a shred of authority. Got it, Mr. Chase, Leo said, readily accepting. He walked to the front, picked up the class roster, and began calling out names. Stacy Sun, Zoe Zhang. Are they the only two missing? Mr. Chase asked when he finished. Yeah, that's everyone, Leo confirmed. Mr. Chase's gaze drifted to the seats where Serafina and Julianne were. Aren't you two their roommates, Ms. Rose and Ms. Hale? Before either of them could answer, Leo cut in. Serafina and Julianne moved into the new two-person suites. Julianne added, they weren't there yesterday when we were moving our stuff out. Mr. Chase's brow furrowed, but they both signed the check-in register yesterday. Leo leaned in and whispered, Hey, Chase, why don't you give the RA in the women's dorm a call? You keep an eye on the class, Mr. Chase said, then turned and walked out of the room. Normally, he wouldn't bother. He'd just mark them with an unexcused absence and move on. But this was the first class of the first day, and, as their advisor, he had a responsibility to check. What if something had happened? He'd heard stories of students getting into drunken brawls off campus on the first night back and ending up in a holding cell overnight. A quick call to the dorm confirmed his concern. The RA told him that Stacy Sun and Zoe Zhang had not returned to their room the previous night. A knot of anxiety tightened in Mr. Chase's chest. He asked the RA to physically check their room just in case, then forced himself to return to the classroom and continue the lecture. A few minutes later, his phone buzzed. The RA again. The room was empty. Mr. Chase immediately tried calling both Stacy and Zoe, but both phones went straight to voicemail. His next calls were to their parents. Neither of them knew where their daughters were. It wasn't until just before noon, with only 15 minutes left in the last morning class, that Stacy and Zoe finally rushed in. Mr. Chase pulled them into the hallway. They stammered and stuttered, eventually cobbling together a flimsy excuse that he knew was a lie. He had a lunch meeting and no time to argue with them. As long as they were physically unharmed, that was all that mattered for now. After sending them back in the classroom, he called Leo out. I'm going to be swamped with orientation stuff for the next few days, Mr. Chase said, his tone more like he was asking a favor than giving an order. Anyone listening would have thought Leo was the advisor. If it's not too much trouble, could you keep an eye on those two for me? No problem, Leo said without hesitation. Mr. Chase had covered for him plenty of times last semester when he'd skipped class. This was a small thing to ask. I'll watch them. Did you find out where they were last night? They claimed they were at a hotel, didn't set an alarm, and overslept. When I asked for booking confirmation or a screenshot of the receipt, they said their phones were broken. Mr. Chase's lips curled into a slight frown. They're feeding me a load of crap, and I know I won't get anything useful out of them. If you get a chance, maybe you could feel them out. Yeah, I got it, Leo nodded. Thanks, I appreciate it, Mr. Miller, Mr. Chase whispered, the formal address sounding awkward even to himself. Anytime, man, Leo said, clapping him on the shoulder. Oh, one more thing. Those dozen or so withdrawal requests from the SGA that popped up on the portal last night. Approve all of them, Leo said dismissively. They're all troublemakers. Never listen to us anyway. We're better off without them. Okay, Mr. Chase nodded, though his curiosity was piqued. He had no idea how Leo had convinced so many people to voluntarily quit the Student Government Association in such a short time. Even the SGA president couldn't just kick people out. There were procedures. People quit from time to time, but a dozen in one night was unheard of. He'd left the requests pending, waiting to ask Leo about them. Leo's tone was final. Anything else? Nope, that's all. You can head back to class. All right. Leo nodded and went back inside. Watching him go, Mr. Chase let out a wry chuckle, thinking to himself, who's the advisor here, me or him? What did he want? Julianne, ever the curious one, didn't even wait for Leo to sit down. Nothing much. Just asked me to keep an eye on those two, Leo said, jerking his chin towards Stacy and Zoe, who were sitting at the front. Because they were late? Yeah. Leo met Julianne's eyes. They haven't been giving you any trouble lately, have they? No, she said, shaking her head. Ever since they found out we were officially together, they've backed off. They wouldn't dare try anything in the dorm. Leo frowned. Did they ever pull this disappearing act last semester? No. Julianne trailed off. Then a faint blush crept up her cheeks. Actually, Serafina and I were the ones who usually didn't come home at night. Leo felt his own face heat up at the unexpected reminder. Stacy and Zoe looked half asleep for the rest of the class. The moment the bell rang, they linked arms and practically fled the room. Julianne frowned, watching them go. Something's not right with them, she murmured. What? You think they? Shush. Shoo. Keep your voice down. Julianne glanced around the crowded cafeteria nervously, like a spy on a secret mission. Don't yell. Okay, Leo whispered. So, how did you figure out they? You know, did that last night. It's their walk. Julianne leaned in close. The way they were walking was just off. You could totally tell if you looked closely. So, they spent the night with their boyfriends? Leo stroked his chin thoughtfully. I guess that's not too out of character for them. The problem is, neither of them had a boyfriend before. How did they both suddenly get one at the same time? Maybe it's not a boyfriend. What else could it be? Leo waved a dismissive hand. You're probably overthinking it. It's not that complicated. I hope you're right. Just as she finished speaking, the pager on their table buzzed. Our hot pot is ready, Leo announced, jumping up. I'll go get it. You wait here. Be careful. While Leo was gone, Julianne went to the sanitized utensil dispenser on the second floor of the cafeteria. She grabbed chopsticks and spoons, then meticulously wiped them down with a napkin. When Leo returned with a large tray, she immediately applauded. Thank you, babe. You're the best. Hit. Leo beamed, letting out a goofy little laugh at the praise. The tray held a huge bowl of build-your-own malatang and 2 bowls of rice. Free refills on the rice, too. As they ate, Leo asked, no class this afternoon? What do you want to do? Are you taking me out somewhere? Is there anywhere fun left we haven't been to? Then come to the campus commons with me, and we can write. All right, you want to have another word spring competition? Leo asked, a mischievous grin spreading across his face. Julianne immediately shook her head. No way. You're an absolute monster. I can't compete with you. Leo's typing speed was so fast, it had once made Julianne seriously wonder if he was secretly an octopus in human form, hiding his extra limbs until he was alone and could unleash them all on the keyboard. It was the only logical explanation. Then again, if he had superpowers, it seemed like a waste to only use them for writing novels. Julianne. Leo gently tapped her knee with his under the table. Huh, snapped out her daydream. She looked up. What is it? What were you thinking about? You totally ignored me, Leo said, his voice laced with a hint of playful whining. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. She immediately reached out and patted his head like he was a puppy. Fine, you're forgiven. Before they started dating, Leo had thought the idea of a guy acting cute for his girlfriend was gross, cringy even, but now that he was in it, he found that a little pouting here and there felt completely natural. As she stroked his hair, Julianne asked, Hey, did you see that big animated movie that came out over the holidays? Across the Spider-Verse? Not yet. Did you? Nope. I'll buy tickets then. We could go tonight. Leo pulled out his phone, ready to book them. Okay, but let me get them. I just got paid from StoryForge. Too late, already buying. Fine, but pick a late showing. We can finish writing this afternoon and go out to dinner. My treat. You got it, Ms. Hail, Leo said, propping his chin on his hand and leaning across the table. His eyes were full of adoration. You buy me dinner, I buy you a movie. After lunch, Julianne went back to the dorm to grab her writing toolkit, laptop, charger, and noise-canceling headphones, and met Leo at the Student Activity Center. As soon as they walked in, Tyler, you spotted them. Leo, when are we starting the spring recruitment drive? Leo glanced at Julianne. You go on ahead to the bookstore. I'll meet you there in a bit. Okay. As Julianne headed upstairs with her laptop bag, Tyler asked sheepishly, Did I interrupt something? You know you did, Leo said, giving him a friendly tap on the head. Ahem, Tyler coughed awkwardly. Well, do you want to take care of things? And I could find you later. No, it's fine. Ask me now. If you don't, I won't have time later. Okay. Spring recruitment. Let's start in March. Get the posters designed by the end of the month. Then you can take some people and set up a table on the quad. Got it. Is the media department handling all of it? Get the campus life and external affairs departments involved. How many people are left in external affairs? Tyler grimaced. Not many. The only ones left are the ones who couldn't stand Wyatt Vance. Good. Leo nodded. I'll bring up your promotion at the general meeting tomorrow night. So don't be afraid to take charge. Okay. Anything else? No. Wait, yes, one more thing. Yeah. Leo, who had started to leave, stopped. What is it? High school started a week before us. My sister came home yesterday and told me Nico Sterling is up to something new at school. Nico Sterling? The name made Leo's brow furrow. What now? Is he bothering your sister again? No. Tyler waved his hands frantically. My sister heard from a friend that Nico has started studying. Seriously. He cut his hair. He's wearing his school uniform again. And he even asked the teacher to move him to the front row. He's apparently been a model student for a whole week. Did he get body snatched? I thought it was weird to... Whatever. Don't worry about that psycho for now, Leo said, waving it off. After talking with Tyler, Leo bought 2 coconut lattes from the campus cafe and carried them into the study area of the bookstore. Already started? MHM. Thanks, babe. Julianne took the drink carrier from him. No problem. You focus, Leo said. He decided not to tell her what Tyler had said about Nico. No need to distract her with more weirdness. The afternoon flew by. Julianne finished her work and packed up her laptop. Leo, who had been writing on his phone, heard the door to her study Corel open and exited his own writing app. Good evening, Lily. Julianne chirped, stretching luxuriously. She was clearly in a good mood after a productive session. Ready for dinner? Let's go, she said, grabbing his wrist and pulling him toward the exit. Whoa, slow down. Leo retrieved his car from the underground parking garage and picked up Julianne. As they drove toward the east gate, they noticed a commotion. A security guard was arguing with the driver of a black Toyota 4Runner, trying to enter through an exit-only gate. Sir, we've explained this. This gate is not an entrance for unauthorized vehicles. You have to go to the main gate and register. It's a damn gate, isn't it? Why can't I register here? You guys are making this so complicated. Rules are meant to be bent. Look, man, I just work here. Giving me a hard time won't help. Just drive around to the main entrance. As the barrier for Leo's lane lifted, the driver of the Toyota turned and looked right at him. Leo met his gaze. The man wore dark sunglasses and had a faint scar on his cheek. He didn't look friendly. A woman with bleached blonde hair sat in the passenger's seat, but from this distance, Leo couldn't make out her features. The back seat was also full of people. The whole scene made Leo's brow furrow. Julianne's expression mirrored his. A woman's intuition told her that the people in that car were bad news. The man in the sunglasses quickly looked away, turning back to the guard as if deliberately avoiding their gaze. "Drive slowly," Julianne whispered to Leo. "Got it." After clearing the gate, Leo took his foot off the gas, letting the car crawl forward at idle speed. Suddenly, the driver of the Toyota gave up. Fine. We'll go to the main gate," he snapped at the guard. Thank you. Thank you for your cooperation." By the time the black Toyota began its U-turn, Leo's car had barely reached the corner. Julianne kept her eyes glued to the rearview mirror, watching until the SUV disappeared around a bend, heading toward the main entrance. Leo glanced over at her. "Want to follow them?" "Huh." Julianne looked confused. "I thought we were going to dinner. Why will we follow them?" Leo smirked. "You just seemed really interested in that car." She shook her head. "No, it's just weird." "What's weird?" "A group of people who look like thugs. What are they doing at a university? Can't judge a book by its cover. Maybe they just look tough." But on TV, Julianne insisted, guys with scars who drive big, black, boxy SUVs are never the good guys. "All right," she added, "and in novels too." Her words sparked something in Leo. He pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" "I'm going to give campus security a heads up. Tell them to tighten patrols and keep an eye out for that suspicious car." Julianne shrugged. "Even if they are bad guys, they're not stupid enough to pull something on campus, are they?" "You're probably right. Forget it." Leo thought for a second and put his phone away. Leo had bought tickets for the 9 o'clock showing, which would end around 10:30. Before that, they had to eat. They didn't go far, just found a Korean barbecue place in a mall below the theater. Leo's grilling skills were average at best, so he was mostly in charge of eating, while Julianne expertly grilled pork belly, steak, oysters, and shrimp. "You eat, I'll grill," he finally said, feeling guilty that she hadn't stopped moving to take a bite. He snatched the tongs and scissors from her hands. Julianne cocked her head. "Are you sure you know how? What's so hard about it? You put some oil down, put the meat on, flip it when one side is done. Simple. I've learned just by watching you." "Oh, so you're not as dumb as you look," she teased, propping her chin on her hand. Leo narrowed his eyes. "I feel like that was an insult." "Nope, not at all. You're imagining things." She pointed at a chicken wing on the grill that was starting to smoke. "You should probably flip that before it burns." Right. Leo fumbled with the tongs, hastily flipping the wing. "Haha." His frantic clumsiness looked so dorky that it made her burst out laughing. After a period of intense concentration on his flipping technique, Leo proudly presented a slightly charred chicken wing on Julianne's plate. "Go on, try the masterpiece I so carefully prepared for you," he said, puffing out his chest. "Are you sure you're not just using me as a guinea pig because you're scared to eat it yourself?" She joked. "It's burnt." "Of course not. I'm giving you the first piece because you're important to me. And that's not burnt, that's the Maillard reaction." The comment made her laugh again. "You're good at making excuses for your failures. All right, let's have a little taste of Chef Leo's creation." She picked up the wing with her chopsticks, blew on it gently, and took a bite. "Well," Leo watched her, his face a mask of hopeful anticipation. "The presentation is a little lacking," she said thoughtfully, "but the flavor is surprisingly on point. In one word, delicious." Leo's heart, which had been in his throat, finally settled. "Of course. I'm Chef Leo, after all. Don't let one compliment go to your head." Julianne said, poking him on the nose. "Hey, you're the one who boosted my confidence," he laughed, rubbing his nose. After dinner, they had about 40 minutes until the movie started. They went downstairs to a boba shop to grab drinks for the theater, but the place was packed. When Leo ordered, there were still over a dozen orders ahead of them, and the line spilled out the door. Seeing they had a long wait, they decided to indulge in a quirky little ritual they had for boring mall trips. They went to a lottery ticket stand and bought a couple of scratch-offs. Julianne paid, getting two $20 tickets. As expected, the two unlucky souls had just donated $40 to the state lottery. "Sigh," Julianne lamented, looking at her losing ticket. "If I'd known we were going to waste $40, I would have just bought 2 more drinks." Leo put an arm around her shoulder. "Don't be sad. Think of it as a contribution to public welfare." "I guess that's one way to lie to myself," she agreed. They waited another 5 minutes back at the boba shop before their drinks were finally ready. By the time they got them, the theater upstairs was already announcing their showing. They could hear the call for ticket takers from the elevator. Leo checked his watch, 10 minutes to showtime. The movie, Across the Spider-Verse, was over 2 hours long, and both the story and the visual effects were incredible. To sum it up in one phrase, worth the ticket price. Compared to so many overhyped, star-studded blockbuster flops, this was a film where you felt your money was well spent. Leo and Julianne were completely captivated, so engrossed that nothing else of note happened. After the movie, they They took the elevator straight down to the underground garage and drove back to campus. It was nearly midnight when they arrived, and the campus streets were mostly deserted. Though Julianne had moved, Leo's muscle memory took over, and he drove straight to the all-female dorm building. Julianne, just as habitually, unbuckled her seatbelt. As she opened her door, Leo grabbed her arm. "Yeah? What's up? Aren't you forgetting something?" It took her a second to realize. "All right, I don't live here anymore," she said, giving a small, wry smile. Leo chuckled sheepishly. "I forgot to. Just drove here on autopilot." Right. It's all your fault," she teased, giving his thigh a light slap. "Come on, let's go back to our dorm." "You got it." After parking in their new building's garage, they were about to head upstairs when Leo's phone rang. It was Mr. Chase. He rarely called this late, so it had to be important. Leo answered immediately. "Chase, what's wrong?" Mr. Miller, I just got a call from the RA. Stacy and Zoe aren't in their dorm again tonight. I tried calling both of them. No answer. I've already contacted their parents again. I can't make it to campus tomorrow, so if you see them in the morning, let me know immediately. I need to have a video call with them." "Okay, no problem." After hanging up, Julianne asked, "What did the advisor say?" Leo shrugged. "Same old story. Stacy and Zoe. Don't tell me they're gone again tonight." "Yep." Leo nodded. Like most universities, the standard dorms at USC had a curfew. Students who were out late or didn't return were logged by the RA and reported to their academic advisor. Usually, advisors were too busy to care unless it was a special case, like 2 female students who repeatedly stayed out all night and were unreachable. The standard procedure was to notify their parents. Julianne frowned. What on earth are those two getting into? Leo pursed his lips. "I'd really like to know that myself." The 2-person suites, of course, had no curfew. It was one of the many perks afforded to the wealthy students whose tuition was a lifeline for the university. The regular students were there to learn. The rich ones were often just there to coast, and nobody could really control them anyway. The elevator doors opened, and they walked to their respective doors. Click! They unlocked their doors at the exact same time, but didn't go in. Instead, they both turned to look at each other. "Well, I'm heading in," Leo said. "Okay," Julianne nodded. "Tonight's movie was really good." "I thought so too." He smiled. "So, is there anything else you wanted to say to me?" Good night. Sleep well." "All right then. I'm going in." He made a move to push his door open, but this time, Julianne wasn't having it. "Hey, I said good night to you. Aren't you supposed to say something back?" "Say what?" Leo asked, feigning ignorance. Julianne balled her fists. "You're toast if you keep playing dumb." "I wouldn't dare, my lady." "Spare me." Leo walked over to her, wrapped her in a hug, and leaned in to whisper in her ear, "Good night, babe." It was the first time he'd said it since she'd moved. He felt the tension in her body instantly melt away. After their good nights, they went into their separate rooms. Damian wasn't back yet. Leo sent Julianne a text. "Damian's not here. It's just me. Want to come over?" Julianne replied. "Serafina isn't back either." Leo looked at the message and muttered to himself. Are they still on their date this late? For some reason, as he said that, the image of the black Toyota SUV from the campus gate popped into his head. Damian and Serafina weren't back this late. They couldn't have been kidnapped, could they? Knock, knock. Just as the thought crossed his mind, someone knocked on his door. Leo opened it to find Julianne standing there. It obviously wasn't Damian. He had a key. "I just called Serafina, and her phone is off," Julianne said before she even stepped inside, her expression worried. "Do you think they?" It seemed she'd had the same paranoid thought. "Relax," Leo said, trying to soothe her as he scrolled through his contacts for Damian's number. "You can't always jump to the worst-case scenario." Julianne pressed a hand to her chest, trying to calm her racing heart. She still took a moment to correct him. "That's not paranoia. It's called an intrusive thought. A more accurate term for imagining something bad has happened to someone." "You researched this stuff?" "A little." Just as they were talking, Damian's line connected. "Miller," Damian's voice came through. "What's up? Need something? Why aren't you back yet?" "Got held up with something. We'll be back soon." Leo looked at Julianne, who pointed at her own phone, silently asking him to find out why Serafina's was off. Leo got the message. "Is Serafina with you?" "Yeah," Damian replied. "We've been together all evening." "Why? Something wrong?" Serafina's voice could be heard in the background. "Is it Leo? Does he need something?" "No, nothing," Leo said. "My girlfriend and I got back and saw both your rooms were empty. We got a little worried something had happened." "Please," Damian said, his voice brimming with that untouchable alpha billionaire confidence. "I'm Damian Sterling. Who in Ethelberg would dare to mess with me? Serafina's phone died, that's all." "Oh, okay, well, get back safe." Later, after hanging up, Leo smiled at Julianne. "See? They're fine, but I bet they won't be back tonight. I'll be all alone in this big room. I might get scared. Maybe you should stay. I haven't even showered yet. I'm going back to my room. Bye. Hey, don't go. Aren't you scared being alone in your huge room? Wanting to come keep you company. Get out of here, she laughed. Stop messing around. They'll definitely be back tonight. Julianne was right. Half an hour later, Damian returned, with Serafina right beside him. Leo, sitting on the living room couch, heard their sappy goodbyes in the hallway. Good night, babe. Night, sweetie. Hey, wait, babe. One more kiss before you go. Smooch. Damian walked in, a blissful smile on his face, which immediately vanished when he saw Leo sitting on the couch, watching him with a wicked, teasing grin. Miller, what's with that look? Damian asked, a shiver running down his spine. Leo perfectly mimicked Damian's earlier lovesick tone. Good night, babe. Hey, one more kiss before you go. You heard that. Damian's face flushed crimson. He shot Leo a glare. Shut up. Ha ha ha. Leo howled with laughter at Damian's embarrassment. So, what were you two up to so late? You know our engagement party is in a few days, right? Damian said, plopping down on the couch next to him. After our talk yesterday, we realized there was a ton of stuff we still needed to get. So we spent the afternoon and evening shopping. We just finished. After Leo had helped him sort through his feelings, Damian had opened up to Serafina about his pre-engagement anxiety. Serafina, in turn, confessed her own worries. They both realized they were on the same page and promised to face whatever came their way together. The honest conversation had made their relationship even stronger. Their bond was never really in trouble, but without that talk, the mounting pressure could have easily led to a crisis after the engagement. It just went to show, most relationship problems stemmed from a lack of communication. Being honest and direct could solve almost anything. Leo looked at Damian. Sounds like you've moved past the fear and into the excitement phase. Pretty much, Damian admitted, rubbing his nose sheepishly. Actually, I'm kind of looking forward to it now. Good. Leo nodded, then remembered what Tyler you had told him that afternoon. Oh, right. I need to tell you something. It's about your cousin. Leo recounted the story of Nico's sudden transformation into a model student. Damian's brow furrowed as he listened. You should be careful around your uncle's family for a while, Leo said, standing up. Damian nodded seriously. Yeah, I know. When a person's personality changes so drastically overnight, it's usually because of a life or death experience. If not that, then there's only one other possibility. It's an act. Marcus Sterling was scheming to take over the family business. He wouldn't just sit back and watch Damian's engagement go off without a hitch. Donovan Sterling knew this, too, and had been keeping a close watch on his brother. But for the past few days, Marcus had been suspiciously quiet, making no moves at all. The next morning, Stacy and Zoe missed the first class. They rushed into the second class more than 10 minutes after it had started. Leo immediately sent a text to Mr. Chase. After finding their seats, Stacy and Zoe lasted only a few minutes before slumping onto their desks, fast asleep. Did they go robbing graves last night? Leo muttered, looking at the two of them dead to the world. Julianne nodded. Could be. Look at those dark circles. They're practically falling off their faces. After class, Leo and Julianne walked over to their desks. Julianne shook them awake. As they blinked up in sleepy confusion, Leo spoke. Come with me. Mr. Chase wants to have a video call with you. Stacy and Zoe mumbled a few refusals. Seeing they weren't going to budge, Leo simply pulled out his phone and video called Mr. Chase right there in the classroom. Mr. Chase started the call calmly, but after a few questions that Stacy and Zoe answered with vague, evasive nonsense, his temper frayed. He laid into them, delivering a verbal beatdown so eloquent it didn't contain a single curse word. Once he was done, he hung up, knowing he wouldn't get anything useful from them. Leo and Julianne returned to their seats, leaving Stacy and Zoe looking stunned, staring blankly at the whiteboard, their thoughts a mystery to everyone. After the last class of the morning, Stacy and Zoe caught up to Leo and Julianne on their way to the cafeteria. Leo, Jules, you have to help us, they said in unison, their eyes wide with a desperate, pleading look. Given her history with them, Julianne had no intention of helping her former roommates. She felt nothing for them. Leo didn't want to get involved either, but he couldn't just shut them down. First, tell me what happened, he said. Stacy's words came out in a rush. We got scammed. We owe a lot of money. The scammers forced us to take out loans online, and now we can't pay them back. The loan sharks are after us. They're forcing us to work as escorts in a nightclub. Her voice broke, and she started to cry. Leo's brow furrowed. Julianne, who had been impatiently tugging on Leo's arm, suddenly perked up, her gossip jar going haywire. She was now fully invested. Leo's face was unreadable. How much do you owe? Between the two of us, with interest. It's $500,000. 500,000? Julianne gasped. What did you do to owe that much? We. Stacy and Zoe stammered, unable to continue. After a quick, panicked glance at each other, Stacy said, one day, we both got a link. We were curious, so we clicked it, and our money was stolen. Then the scammer had us fill out our personal information, promising to return the money if we did. But it was a loan website. We ended up taking out $100,000 in loans, and the scammer took all of that, too. We were too scared to tell our families or call the police. The debt just kept growing, and now it's at $500,000. When we came back to school, the loan sharks used our info to track us down. They grabbed us and forced us to work in their nightclub to pay off the debt. What's the name of the club you're working at? Julianne asked, her eyes fixed on Zoe. Zoe was caught off guard by the direct question. Stacy jumped in. We don't know. They blindfold us every time they take us there. Then why didn't you go to the police? Julianne pressed. We were too scared, Stacy said. Yeah, Zoe echoed. Our families aren't well off. If we called the police, our parents would find out. If they knew we owed that much money, it would be over. My mom would probably have a heart attack if she found out. Julianne said nothing, but her look to Leo clearly said, my turn is over. You're up. Leo crossed his arms. And why do you think we would help you? Stacy sniffled. We have nowhere else to turn. Zoe added, Mr. Chase already notified our parents. The secret's going to come out soon anyway. So, Leo listened, then turned to Julianne. She delivered the final blow with cold precision. I'm really sorry to hear about your situation, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. But the Miller family is having some cash flow issues right now. My boyfriend's monthly allowance is only $5,000. We can't help you. However, just as the hope drained from their faces, Julianne's tone shifted. You could try asking Serafina and Damian. I'm sure they have money to lend you. At the mention of their names, a flicker of panic crossed Stacy and Zoe's eyes before they quickly masked it. Okay, I guess, Zoe said, deflating like a balloon. Stacy managed a weak smile. It's fine. If you can't help, we'll ask someone else. But please, don't tell anyone what we just told you. We're begging you. Julianne placed a hand on her chest. Don't worry. Your secret is safe with us. Anything else? No, nothing. Stacy shook her head, her eyes growing dull and vacant again. Well, if that's all, we'll be going, Julianne said, then grabbed Leo's arm and walked away without a backward glance. They walked in silence all the way to the cafeteria. It was only after they'd gotten their food and found a quiet corner that they finally spoke. Did you notice the holes in their story? Julianne asked in a low voice. Leo looked into her eyes. They were lying, weren't they? Julianne, a slight frown on her face, shook her head. Leo was confused. They weren't lying? No, she said, stirring her soup with a chopstick. It's worse than that. Have you ever heard of a montage-style lie? A montage-style lie is when you take true events and reorder, rephrase, or change their context to create a narrative that is fundamentally false. Each individual statement might be true, but the combination is a deception. For example, I saw the entire crime, but I didn't get a clear look at the criminal's face. This is true if the speaker is the criminal. They can't see their own face. Or, she couldn't stand me anymore and wanted to break up, so I hit her. Versus, I hit her, so she couldn't stand me anymore and wanted to break up. The moment Stacy started her story, Julianne had sensed something was off. If I'm right, Julianne explained, they weren't scammed out of their money. They willingly spent it all, took out high-interest loans, and when they couldn't pay them back, they started working at the club. Willingly spent it. Leo mused. What did they buy with over $100,000? Julianne chewed on her chopstick. Their faces haven't changed, so it's not plastic surgery. They're not wearing designer clothes or jewelry, so it's not a shopping spree. And their story about clicking a link and losing all their money is ridiculous. If that part is true in any sense, there's only one possibility. Leo said it aloud. Online gambling. Exactly. Julianne nodded. So, Stacy's story was missing the beginning and the end. The real version is probably this. They saw an ad for an online casino, got curious, and gambled away all their savings. The site offered easy loans, so they used their personal information to borrow $100,000, which they also promptly lost. Drowning in gambling debt they couldn't tell their parents or the police about, they let the interest pile up. Eventually, the loan sharks came calling and forced them to work at a nightclub to pay it off. They probably planned to work in secret until the debt was clear, but with the semester starting, it became harder to sneak out at night. With their advisor hounding them and their parents notified, they knew the truth would come out. So they concocted this sob story to borrow money from Leo, hoping to pay off the immediate debt and figure out how to repay him later. They likely targeted him because they assumed he was rich enough that $500,000 was chump change. But there was one thing Julianne still couldn't figure out. Why didn't they ask Serafina and Damian for help? They had no beef with Serafina, who was famously kind and good-natured. A sob story would have worked much better on her. They had to know their chances were higher with Serafina than with her. And yet, the moment she mentioned their names, their expressions changed. That was the most suspicious part. Leo gently placed his hand over hers. If you can't figure it out, don't stress about it. Yeah, Julianne nodded. If they really gambled away their money, they brought this on themselves. After lunch, they went back to their suite. With classes all afternoon, Julianne wanted to use her lunch break to get some writing done. She just got into a good rhythm when she heard a knock on her bedroom door. Jules? Are you in there? It was Serafina. Yeah, it's unlocked. The door opened, and Serafina peeked in. Oh, are you busy writing? I could come back later if you are. No, it's fine. Julianne waved her off and closed her laptop. What's up? It's not urgent, Serafina said with a smile. My dress for the engagement party is almost ready, and I have a fitting tonight. I was wondering if you could come with me? For a second opinion. Damian's a sweetheart, but all he does is say everything is amazing. His feedback is useless. Haha, of course. I'd love to, Julianne readily agreed. Right after classes tonight? Yep. And after the fitting, I'll treat you to dinner. Serafina held up a finger. Oh, and bring your boyfriend, too. We can all go together. Okay, I won't bother you then. Get back to work. Serafina smiled and gently closed the door. In the suite next door, Leo was on the phone with Mr. Chase, relaying everything Stacy and Zoe had told him. Julianne may have promised to keep their secret, but that was her promise, not his. I'm getting more devious, he thought to himself. He didn't, however, mention any of Julianne's analysis. Her theory was just a guess, and without proof, it was better not to plant a false idea in the advisor's head. Just as he hung up, Damian walked in, grinning, and plopped onto the couch. Who was that, Miller? Just talking with our advisor. Leo eyed Damian's cheerful expression. You seem happy. Do I? Damian rubbed his nose. I'm always like this, aren't I? Anyway, I'm taking my girlfriend to her dress fitting tonight. You wanna? Ding. A notification on Leo's phone cut him off. He glanced at the screen and grinned at Damian. You're too slow. He held up his phone, showing Damian the text from Julianne. Damian nodded. Okay, fair. Serafina must have gotten upstairs first while I was parking. He leaned back. So, are you coming tonight or not? My girlfriend is going. You think I have a choice? Leo clapped him on the shoulder. Besides, you're treating me to dinner. I'd be a fool to turn that down. During their afternoon classes, Stacy and Zoe remained in a daze, their eyes vacant and unfocused. By the second period, they were both asleep on their desks again. They slept so soundly that they didn't wake up until the professor called them out near the end of class. What is it with you college students? The professor snapped. Do you go grave robbing at night? You sleep through morning classes. You sleep through afternoon classes. The only time you don't sleep is at night. Are you all vampires? The class erupted in laughter. Stacy and Zoe, mortified, just lowered their heads in silence. After class, Leo and Julianne hopped into a car sent by Damian's family. Being chauffeured was way more comfortable than driving yourself. Half an hour later, they pulled up to a storefront with an imposing facade and an interior that screamed opulence. This wasn't a clothing store. It was a private, high-end couture studio. Inside, they were escorted to a private room to wait, complete with snacks and hot tea. Julianne had barely taken 2 sips before Serafina's custom gowns were brought in, and the 2 girls disappeared into the fitting room. With his girlfriend gone, Damian, who had been munching on cookies, suddenly picked up his phone and shot a look at Leo. Leo met his gaze and knew instantly what he wanted. One game. Damian grinned. Leo shook his head. I don't know. The girls will kill us if they see. It's fine. We'll play a quick match, Damian insisted, already launching the game. Fine. I'll condescend to play with you, Leo said, then reluctantly opened the game and joined Damian's party. From the dressing room, they could hear Julianne's occasional exclamations. Wow. Oh. Whoa. But the 2 guys were too absorbed in their game to pay any mind. A few minutes later, Serafina emerged, radiant in her first gown. Ta-da! The beauty has arrived, Julianne announced, providing a rather unglamorous BGM for Serafina's grand entrance. Miller, you suck at this. Don't talk trash. Just wait for my late game. The 2 were so engrossed, they didn't even notice their girlfriends had emerged. Serafina and Julianne stood before them, completely ignored, a moment of awkward silence hanging in the air. Hey, Julianne finally snapped, startling them both. What do you 2 think you're doing? They jumped, fumbling to shove their phones into their pockets as they looked up. The girls spoke in unison. I'm gone for 5 minutes to try on a dress, and you're already sneaking in a game? Serafina demanded. I was helping her change, and you decided to start a match? Julianne added, hands on her hips. Babe, listen, it was Miller's idea. He made me play. Damian, driven by a primal survival instinct, immediately threw Leo under the bus. What, dude, you? Leo was stunned by the betrayal. He hadn't even had a chance to speak before he was framed. He turned to Julianne, who was already pouting. He's the one who insisted. Seriously, babe, you have to believe me. Julianne gave him a look that clearly said, we'll talk about this later, but didn't press the issue. Serafina gave Damian a similar glare. With that settled, they turned their attention to the gowns. Serafina was wearing the first of two, a stunning, backless red evening gown with delicate pearl accents. The second was a modern take on a traditional formal gown. Leo suggested the hem of the red dress should be longer, creating a more dramatic train. Julianne thought the slit on the mermaid skirt could be a bit higher. Damian's only feedback was to applaud and say how beautiful she looked. The second gown was a masterpiece. It featured a bespoke vest-like overlay, hand-stitched with intricate decorations. Gold and silver threads cascaded into beaded tassels, evoking the spirit of ancient royalty. The body was a rich crimson silk, hand-embroidered by a master artisan over hundreds of hours, with stitches so fine you could see the texture on a butterfly's wing. But the most breathtaking detail was the hem, which was inlaid with iridescent mother-of-pearl. With every step, the seashell fragments caught the light, creating a rainbow-like shimmer against the deep red fabric. This one is perfect, Leo said, giving a thumbs up. I have no notes. The waist could be tailored just a little more, Julianne suggested. It would make it easier for you to move, Sarah. Damian just kept applauding, a proud look on his face that all but screamed, my girlfriend is the most beautiful woman in the world. After the fitting, Serafina and Julianne went to discuss the alterations with the designer, while the boys sat meekly in the waiting room, sipping tea and not daring to touch their phones. By the time they finished, it was 8 o'clock. The four of them headed to a hotel restaurant Damian had booked. As they walked in, a young man approached Serafina. Damian immediately tensed, stepping slightly in front of her. Serafina, what a coincidence. You're here for dinner, too? The man said with a friendly wave. Recognizing him, Damian relaxed. It was Serafina's cousin, the son of her aunt, Jeremy Rose. Jeremy, it's you. Serafina smiled. I was just trying on my engagement gowns with some friends, so I'm treating them to dinner. Have you eaten? You should join us if you haven't. Yeah, cousin, join us for dinner. Damian added. Hearing the name, Julianne muttered under her breath, Jeremy, like the mouse from Tom and Jerry. Puffed. Leo couldn't hold it in and let out a snore of laughter right in front of him. When he'd come up with the character names, he just used a random generator and hadn't thought twice about it. Hearing Julianne's comment made it absurdly funny. Jeremy heard both the laugh and the whisper. He just smiled faintly, as if he were used to it. Thank you for the kind invitation, but unfortunately, I already have plans with friends. I'm afraid I can't join you. He gave a slight, formal bow, his tone as smooth and polished as a French gentleman's. Perhaps another time. When I'm free, I will be sure to invite you and your friends for a proper get-together. Oh, no worries. It's fine, Damian and Serafina said with polite smiles. Julianne also managed a polite smile, but she was thinking, this guy is so pretentious. Leo, meanwhile, was racking his brain, trying to remember if Jeremy Rose had any significant role in the original novel. He couldn't recall a thing. Damn it, he thought, a frown creasing his forehead. My memory is getting blurrier. After a brief exchange, Jeremy Rose excused himself and headed to a private room on the second floor. Leo and the others went up to their own room on the third. Once they were seated, Julianne quietly asked Serafina, Sarah, are you and your cousin close? We're okay, I guess, Serafina replied with a small smile. He's a really nice person. When we were little, if I ever had a fight with my parents, he'd come over and comfort me. We just haven't had much chance to hang out since we grew up, so we've drifted apart a bit. Oh, okay. Julianne nodded thoughtfully. Then she added with a laugh, his name is pretty interesting. I hope he wasn't offended by what I said. How? Don't worry about it, Serafina assured her. When he was a kid, he used to get mad when other kids made fun of his name, but he grew out of it. He's very refined and easygoing. Their food was already prepared and began arriving shortly after they sat down. Suddenly, Leo felt an urgent need to use the restroom. As he stood up, a waiter quickly interjected, Sir, my apologies, but the toilet in this room is currently under maintenance. The public restroom is just outside the room. Oh, got it. Miller, Can you grab me a power bank from downstairs? Damian called out as Leo left. Sure. After using the restroom, Leo went down to the second floor, where a small portable charger rental kiosk was tucked into a corner. He scanned the code, rented a charger, and started back upstairs. He was completely unaware that, moments after he left, Stacy Sun and Zoe Zhang walked into a private room on that same floor. Both were dressed in revealing outfits, their faces caked in heavy makeup that, while elevating their features, gave them the look of beautifully painted dolls. The room they entered was slightly smaller than the one Damian had booked. Seated at the head of the table was Nico Sterling. To his left was Jason Jiang, and to his right was the very same Jeremy Rose who had just greeted Serafina. The other seats were filled with their cronies, including Jason's right-hand man, Manny, who sat guarding the door. Stacy and Zoe bowed their heads humbly. Mr. Sterling, Mr. Rose, Mr. Jiang, Manny. No one at the table looked up, continuing their meal and conversation as if the girls weren't there. Nico took a sip of his drink and smirked at Jeremy. Still mad. Despite being at a fancy dinner, Nico was still wearing his Ethelberg prep school uniform, his once wild hair now a neat, black crew cut. He looked exactly as Tyler's sister had described. Harmless, even a bit nerdy. It was the perfect disguise. Behind his gold-rimmed glasses, Jeremy's eyes were dark with anger as he stared at his plate. Damn it, I hate it when people compare me to that stupid cartoon mouse. Come on, Jeremy, don't be mad, Jason said, getting up to pat him on the shoulder. We'll settle all our scores at once, old and new. Jeremy looked from Jason to Nico, his teeth clenched. How much longer are you going to wait? We have to do something. Soon, Jason said. Very soon. Just wait a little longer. Wait, that's all you ever say. Jeremy snapped. If we wait any longer, they'll actually be engaged. At his complaint, Nico's face darkened, and he slammed his hand on the table. Shut up. The single shout silenced the room. Jeremy and Jason flinched. The other men froze. Stacy and Zoe, standing by the door, nearly collapsed, their legs turning to jelly. They had seen Nico's cruel streak firsthand at the casino and were terrified of him. You think we don't want to move faster? Nico snarled, jabbing a finger at Jeremy. If being impatient worked, I'd be more desperate than you. If I could, I'd go upstairs right now and slice Damian into 1,000 pieces. So don't you dare tell me what to do. Jeremy swallowed hard. Gulp. Nico pointed at his face. Your job right now is to do what you're told, not to rush me. Got it? Yes. Jeremy nodded quickly. Though Jeremy was older, Nico was the clear leader of their little group, a tyrannical one who didn't listen to anyone else's advice. It was a direct result of his upbringing. After berating Jeremy, Nico turned to Stacy and Zoe, a predatory curiosity in his eyes. You two are classmates with Leo Miller and Damian Sterling, right? Yes, Mr. Sterling, they stammered. I have a job for you. Nico nodded to one of his men, who handed the girls a small box. Inside was a ring with a strange, intricate design. The face looked like a tiny locket that could be opened. Nico pointed at it. I want you to dissolve this ring in water and find a way to make Leo, Damian, and their girlfriends drink it. Understand? But we're not on good terms with them. They knew he was asking them to poison the group, and they didn't have a nerve. Don't be so quick to refuse, Nico cooed. If you do this, all your gambling debts will be wiped clean. No one will ever force you to be an escort or a casino dealer again. And on top of that, I'll give you more money than you could spend in a lifetime. His expression suddenly hardened. But if you refuse, I'll make sure you disappear from Ethelberg by morning. His threat hung in the air. Then he spread his hands, his friendly smile returning. So, you've made your choice. Forced into a corner, the two girls could only nod in terrified agreement. Don't worry, Nico said dismissively, his smile never wavering. It's not some deadly poison. It won't kill them. After they drink it, they'll just feel a little less energetic than they used to. It's so annoying watching the four of them prance around all the time. I have high hopes for you too. Good luck. His kind words sent a chill down their spines, and a cold sweat broke out on their backs. They finished dinner quickly and didn't linger. Damian went to get the car from the garage while the other three waited out front. Full from a meal, Julianne bounced around on the sidewalk, claiming it helped with digestion and warmed her up. Even though it was nearly March, the nights in Ethelberg were still cold enough to drop below freezing. Stop hopping around. Your shoelace is untied, Leo said, grabbing the little rabbit's arm. He pulled her over and knelt to tie her shoe. Seeing him about to do it in public, Julianne felt a little embarrassed. Hey, I can get it myself. It's fine, already done, he said, looking up at her as he stood. What are you looking at? She asked, puzzled. Instead of looking down, Leo was staring up past her. Following his gaze, Julianne turned. Behind them were the hotel's floor-to-ceiling windows. Some had the curtains drawn, others didn't. Leo pointed to one of the uncurtained windows on an upper floor. That girl's silhouette. It looks so familiar. Julianne squinted. I think that's Stacy's son, she blurted out. Leo frowned. Isn't she supposed to be working at a nightclub? Is a high-end hotel like this considered a nightclub? Maybe it just looks like her. Or maybe they haven't told us a single word of truth from the beginning. Before Julianne could finish, Serafina called to them from Damian's car. Hey, stop standing there like statues and get in. Oh, coming. They both got into the car without another word, but not before casting one last, long look at the window. The next morning, their first class was PE. Leo and Julianne had both signed up for a martial arts elective last year, naively thinking they'd learn cool, movie-style kung fu. Instead, they'd spent the first semester learning the dull, basic movements of a beginner's kata. This semester, they were practicing the full kata, plus the beginner's form of Tai Chi. Since it was the first PE class of the semester, the instructor just had everyone run through the old kata to refresh their memory. The teacher's movements were sharp and impressive. The students, on the other hand, looked like a bunch of lethargic old men who hadn't slept in decades. Then again, an 8 a.m. class was already torture for most college students. An 8 a.m. martial arts class was a whole new level of hell. Perhaps disgusted by their pathetic performance, the instructor finally clapped his hands. You have 5 more minutes to practice, then you're coming up in pairs to perform. I'll be grading you, and it will count towards your final grade for the semester. The announcement shocked the half-asleep students into full consciousness. The lethargy vanished, replaced by pure panic. Leo and Julianne, standing in the back row, immediately whipped out their phones and started looking up tutorials on the kata. Speaking of final grades, Leo whispered, I just remembered I got 6th in the class last semester. You said if I made the top 10, you'd wear those black stockings for me and walk on my MMPH. Julianne clamped her hand over his mouth. We're in class, she hissed, her face bright red. Are you trying to announce that to everyone? Sorry. Leo muffled, then lowered his voice. So, about that backwalking massage. Shut up, just shut up. You're not going to back out, are you? Leo's lip drooped into a pout. I worked so hard to get into the top 10. If you bail on me, I'll be heartbroken for a whole year. Fine, I won't back out. Julianne poked him on the forehead. We'll talk about it when we go home for break in a few days. I can't exactly. You know, walk on your back in the dorm. What if Serafina and Damian saw? That would be so awkward. Okay, Leo nodded. You said it. I'm holding you to that. I know, you big horny dummy, she said, poking him on the head again. The instructor, looking for a pair to start, spotted Leo and Julianne whispering and giggling in the back. A wicked smile spread across his face. You two in the back, whispering to each other. Yes, you. Come on up. You could be the first to demonstrate the kata. Busting couples flirting in class is my favorite hobby, he thought. Leo whispered, Crap, I've forgotten most of the moves. Don't worry, Julianne said confidently. Just copy me. Her words were all the reassurance he needed. They walked to the front of the class. The instructor had expected them to make a fool of themselves, but to his surprise, they didn't. Julianne's form was excellent, every move precise. And Leo was passable. Leo, that's slander. He's slandering me. I was great. Since they were the first group, the instructor gave them a decent score. With the ice broken, other students started coming forward. Leo and Julianne, now finished, had nothing to do. They found a corner and sneakily started playing on their phones. Julianne had done the math. It took about a minute or 2 per pair, including the instructor's critique. With 40 students, that meant 20 pairs. The whole process would take at least 20 minutes, by which time class would almost be over. They could safely chill on their phones until the bell rang, while everyone else was still nervously practicing. Oh, this is the life, he thought. He finally understood why everyone always rushed to present first. Compared to them, Serafina and Damian were having a much rougher time in their yoga class. Damian had only signed up because Serafina did, a decision he'd regretted instantly when he realized he was the only guy in the entire class. There was no slacking off in yoga, let alone playing on your phone. He was truly miserable. Are we really doing this? You know what they're capable of. If we don't do this, they'll kill us. Outside the university gym, Stacy's son and Zoe Zhang clutched their gym bags, each containing 2 bottles of mineral water. The original water had been poured out and replaced with water that had been steeped with the ring Nico had given them. The plan was to catch Leo and his friends during their morning PE class and get them to drink it. They'd even worked out the perfect excuse. As soon as the bell rang, they spotted Leo and Julianne sitting on the bleachers of the martial arts practice area, scrolling on their phones. Leo, Jules, you guys must be tired. Here, have some water. Stacy twisted the cap off a bottle and offered it to Leo. Zoe mirrored her, opening a bottle for Julianne. Julianne watched them, a flicker of suspicion in her eyes, but her expression remained neutral. She took the bottle from Zoe without a word, holding it but not drinking. Leo felt it too, a prickling sense that they were up to no good. He held up a hand, refusing the bottle. Thanks, but no thanks. You guys can keep it. Stacy's face fell into an apologetic mask. Leo, we know we were out of line yesterday, asking you for so much money. We're so sorry. This isn't about anything else. We just wanted to apologize for being so reckless. You didn't offend me. There's no need to apologize, Leo said with a dismissive wave. Stacy forced a smile. Thanks for being the bigger person, Leo. But we already bought the water, so maybe you could just... Leo's brow furrowed. He cut her off. Did you put something in the water? The question hit them like a physical blow. Their faces changed instantly. Zoe's expression of pure terror might as well have had the words, yes, it's poison tattooed on her forehead. Stacy's composure was better. She quickly steadied herself, shaking her head with a strained smile. Leo, what are you talking about? We're being sincere. We just bought these from the vending machine by the entrance. Look, here's the purchase history. She pulled out her phone and opened her Venmo history. They had, in fact, just bought several bottles of water to make the story convincing. The actual, untainted water was already sitting at the bottom of a nearby trash can. Huh. Leo's serious expression melted away into a loud laugh. He took the bottle from Stacy's hand. I was just joking. Why are you two so jumpy? Haha, you got quite a sense of humor, Leo. We'll take the water, Leo said, but we're not thirsty right now. We'll drink it at lunch in the cafeteria. Okay, good. Stacy nodded, grabbing Zoe to make a quick exit. But just as they turned, Leo's voice stopped them. Wait! They both froze, their hearts hammering, convinced he'd figured it out. Stacy turned back slowly, her voice trembling. Is there something else? Leo pointed to the bottle caps they were still clutching in their hands. You forgot to give us the caps, he said with a smile. Oh, sorry. Look at us, our brains must be rusty, huh? Stacy stammered, taking the cap from Zoe's hand and handing both to Leo. Leo took them, screwing the cap onto his bottle before kindly capping Julianne's as well. There. Thanks. No problem. The two girls waved their hands frantically and practically fled the scene. Once they were out of earshot, Leo leaned over to Julianne and whispered, Honey, you can stop pinching my back now. It really hurts. Leo had been about to call them out on their pathetic acting, but a sharp pinch from Julianne had made him change his tune at the last second. So, Leo asked, Why didn't you want me to just expose their lie? Julianne gently lifted his chin with her index finger, her tone playful. A cat likes to play with its mouse before eating it. Toying with him is fun, don't you think? Right. Leo felt a little flustered by her sudden, teasing advance, especially the way her sultry eyes were locked on his. A certain feeling began to rise within him. Don't ask what feeling, you can guess. Julianne swirled the water bottle in her hand. Nico Sterling is a real idiot, hiring these two morons to mess with us. If he were smart, he wouldn't be losing so badly to his brother. Damian was a lovable doofus, and if Nico couldn't even outmaneuver him, didn't that just prove how much dumber Nico was? After their encounter with Leo and Julianne, Stacy and Zoe found Damian and Serafina, armed with 2 more bottles. Stacy trotted out the same story she'd used on Leo and Julianne, asking for money. It was the same routine. Whether they agreed to the loan or not, the girls would offer the water as a token of thanks or apology. Damian and Serafina loaned them $1,000 and graciously accepted the water, though they didn't drink it. Stacy and Zoe didn't dare press them. As long as they took the bottles, it counted. It was good enough to report back. Just like before, they made a swift exit. Stacy, Zoe said, clutching her friend's hand, her voice tight with anxiety, don't you think? That went a little too smoothly. Don't overthink it. Damian and Serafina have always been clueless. It's normal. Come on, let's go, Stacy said, dragging Zoe out of the gym. They headed to the cafeteria to get lunch. By a stroke of bad luck, just as they sat down, they saw Leo, Julianne, Damian, and Serafina walk in. The group of 2 handsome guys and 2 beautiful girls was impossible to miss, drawing eyes from every corner of the room. All 4 of them were holding the water bottles the girls had given them. After getting their food, they sat together at a corner table by the window. Stacy and Zoe kept their heads down, eating in silence while periodically stealing glances at the group. After finishing their meal, one by one, The four of them opened the bottles and started drinking. Stacy, they're actually drinking it. Zoe's eyes went wide, her expression a cocktail of surprise, excitement, and, above all, terror. She had no idea what kind of poison was on that ring. Nico had said it wouldn't be lethal, but her heart was pounding with dread. "Shut up. Don't shout," Stacy hissed under her breath. She surreptitiously lifted her phone, snapped a picture of them drinking, and sent it to Nico. "Nico, is that the water soaked with the ring?" Stacy, "Yes, sir. You can count on me." Nico, "Ha ha, excellent." Nico, "Your name is Stacy, right?" Stacy, "That's right. I'm Stacy's son." Nico, "You're a sharp one. Stick with me. You work hard for me, and I'll give you a life of luxury." Reading the fantasy Nico was selling her, Stacy's fear was instantly washed away by a wave of elation. The corners of her mouth turned up in an unconscious smile as she imagined herself in the starring role of some cheesy romance novel, The Alpha Heir's Obsession. Getting in with a guy like Nico Sterling? This was totally worth it. That bitch Julianne Hale screwed me over last year, Stacy told herself. This is just payback. If she dies, she deserves it. I have nothing to be afraid of, nothing to feel guilty about. Right. After her little session of self-gaslighting, Stacy actually began to feel at peace with her decision to poison them. Serafina, is Stacy still taking pictures? Julianne, nope. You can stop acting. Damian, show's over. Can we go now? Leo, let's sit for a bit longer. Talk about something else. The four of them casually exchanged messages in their group chat. After they were done, they sat and chatted idly for another 10 minutes. Only after Stacy and Zoe had gotten up and left did they slowly rise and head back toward the dorms. On the way, all four of them walked in a knowing silence, holding in their thoughts until they were safely back in Leo and Damian's dorm. They piled inside, and Leo shut the door, even sliding the deadbolt. The moment the lock clicked, the room erupted in laughter. Julianne and Serafina sat together on the large sofa in the middle, while Leo and Damian took the armchairs on either side. Seriously, Damian said, I never thought people could be this stupid. They actually believed we'd drink the water they gave us. And Nico, sending them to poison us? He's just as dumb. You're not exactly a genius yourself, Serafina shot back, giving him a sideways glance. If Jules hadn't messaged us beforehand, you would have gulped it down without a second thought. No way, Damian complained, clearly offended. I'm not that dumb. Speaking of which, Damian said, turning to Julianne, how are you two so sure it was Nico who sent them to poison the four of us? For that, Julianne began, we have Stacy and Zoe's honest word from yesterday to thank. She then laid it all out for Damian and Serafina. It had struck her as odd that Stacy and Zoe would ask her and Leo for money, but not Damian and Serafina. Last night, after dinner, while looking at the reflection in the hotel window, it had all clicked into place. The fact that they didn't dare ask Damian and Serafina for money implied that the loan sharks they were indebted to were connected to the Sterling and Rose families. That would explain their terrified reaction to hearing their names. The shadowy figure she'd seen last night was in a booth on the second floor, in the middle section. Julianne recalled that Jeremy Rose had entered a booth in that exact same area. Assuming that figure was Stacy, then they must have met Jeremy. If Jeremy was the loan shark from the Rose family, that only left the Sterling family's representative. Jeremy had said he was meeting a friend, so that person would be around his age. The only person in the Sterling family of a similar age was Nico. The answer was obvious. With Damian and Serafina's engagement drawing near, it was only natural that Nico would start making moves. However, Julianne didn't believe for a second that two obscenely wealthy young men like Nico and Jeremy would go to the trouble of setting up a loan shark scheme for two poor girls unless it was all part of a deliberate plot. Stacy and Zoe were in their finance class, giving them easy access to the group. So they created a trap to ensnare the girls and use them. And the Jang family was in on it too. Why? Because neither the Sterling nor the Rose family ran casinos or dealt in the dirty business of loan sharking. Of the other families, only the Jiangs still had their hands in gray area industries, and Jason Jiang was Nico's loyal dog. With that, the whole picture became clear. Two naive girls were trapped in a scheme, owing the Jiang family hundreds of thousands. Unable to pay, they were forced to work as hostesses in a club, selling themselves to pay off the debt. But with the school year starting, their advisor was getting suspicious, and their secret was on the verge of being exposed. To save their reputations, they tried to borrow money to pay off the debt and get free. Because they had seen or heard things about the Sterlings and Roses at the club, they were too scared to ask Damian or Serafina for money, so they came to Leo. They concocted what they thought was a perfect excuse stitched together from truths, but failed. It was at that moment that Nico and Jeremy approached them and ordered them to poison the group. And that was the exchange Leo had happened to see while tying Julianne's shoe. Julianne's deduction was remarkably close to the truth, but she had overestimated Nico's intelligence. The girl's debt to the Jang family was purely coincidental. As for Nico asking them to do the poisoning, that had been a spur-of-the-moment decision. After hearing her explanation, Damian gave her a thumbs up. With a mind like that, it's a shame you're not a detective. Leo shot Damian a look that said, "Great minds think alike, my friend." Serafina, however, frowned, looking puzzled. "My cousin. Why would he want to harm me?" "That's a question for your cousin," Julianne said with a shrug. "But I think there's a possibility. Your marriage to Damian threatens his interests. Remember what I asked you last night? You're an only child. Your father has no other children, no brothers. The closest blood relative he has is your cousin. If you die, your father will be too grief-stricken to manage the family business. The moment he lets go, your aunt and your cousin will undoubtedly seize the family's most important assets." Serafina fell silent, struggling to accept it. In her memory, her cousin had always been a refined, perfect gentleman. How could he have become a villain trying to poison her? How could a person change so much? Sensing Serafina's turmoil, Julian added, "People change. And the most ruthless people are often the best at pretending to be harmless. Maybe he's always been this way, just putting on a good guy act for the world." Serafina said nothing, and the room sank into a heavy silence. To lighten the mood, Leo half-jokingly said to Julianne, "So, does that mean you're also a vicious woman who's great at putting on an act?" Julianne grinned. "That's right. You'd better watch out, or I might assassinate you in your sleep one night." Ha! Their banter finally broke the tension, and the atmosphere in the room lifted. "These 4 water bottles are heavier than they look," Leo said, pulling the bottles, the ones from Stacy and Zoe, out of Julianne's tote bag. They hadn't drunk a drop. The water they'd been drinking in the cafeteria was from 4 new, sealed bottles Julianne had bought from a vending machine. Julianne gave him a sly look. "Just admit you're weak, Leo. Don't blame the water." Leo balled his fist. "I see someone's asking for it again." "Ahem." Julianne cleared her throat, her voice turning into a playful purr. "Get lost. You're the one who's asking for it." The two of them, acting like an old married couple, were flirting shamelessly right in front of Damian and Serafina. Damian and Serafina could only watch, mouths agape. How do you even dodge an attack that has 0 startup frames? Impossible. Serafina pointed at the 4 bottles on the table. "What do we do with this tainted water?" "Leave it with me," Julianne said, a wicked little smile playing on her lips. "I have a special use for it." Time flew, and soon it was March. Damian and Serafina's engagement party was only 3 days away. For weeks, they had been consumed with preparations, sometimes not even returning to their dorms at night. Today was Saturday, and once again they were gone. Leo planned to take Julianne home for the weekend. Before leaving, they stopped by the staff dorms, intending to bring Clara Hale back with them. But Clara said she had to work the night shift and would stay. Thanks to Leo's influence, the university logistics office had given Clara a cushy job, sitting in the cafeteria surveillance room and watching the monitors. When they were short-staffed on weekends, she would fill in at the main security office, which had a cot where she could rest. She could literally lie down, sleep, and wake up to a full night's wages. On top of that, the night shift came with a bonus and a late-night meal. It was a sweet gig, more money for less work, the kind of position you couldn't get without connections. After a week on the job, Clara was happier than ever, her spirits high. Being idle at home with no one to talk to was boring. Here, she could chat and gossip with her colleagues during her shift. How could she not be in a good mood? Seeing that Clara didn't want to come home, Leo and Julianne didn't press her. They just reminded her to get some rest, then went downstairs to the car. 5 minutes later, they were sprawled out on the massive sofa in their living room. "I'm so tired," Leo groaned. "I didn't even do anything, but I'm exhausted." Julianne gave him a half-smile. "It's not even dark yet, and you're already complaining?" "That sentence sounds suspicious," Leo said, narrowing his eyes at her. "What's suspicious about it? You're making it sound dirty. It's your mind that's in the gutter." "How is that my fault?" "It's the way you said it. It made me think of things. So it's your fault." "Get lost," Julianne said, giving his thigh a light kick. Leo grinned. "Oh, you dare kick me? Prepare to die." As Julianne tried to retract her foot, Leo grabbed her ankle and started tickling the sole of her foot. "Ha ha, get off me, you weirdo, stop it." "Ha ha ha." Julianne laughed, kicking at him with her other foot. He caught that one, too. Her ankles were so slender he could hold both of them in one hand. He grabbed a pillow from the sofa, The fluffy trim was even more ticklish than his fingers. Ha ha ha, you're insane, stop it. Julianne struggled, and Leo's one-handed grip couldn't hold both legs. Her left foot broke free. Once liberated, she landed a solid kick right on Leo's chest. It wasn't a light one either. Oof. Leo coughed, letting go of her right foot. You actually kicked me. And that hard. Are you trying to kill me? Serves you right for tickling me, Julianne said, reaching out and pinching his ear. Was that fun? Not fun at all, Leo said, shaking his head. Your feet stink. They're worse than mine. I'm never touching them again. Bullshit. My feet don't stink. Julianne let go of his ear and propped her foot on his thigh. Smell it. Where's the smell? Nope, not smelling it. Leo pinched his nose, putting on a look of disgust. My hand just touched it for a second, and now it stinks. Liar. They don't stink at all. Go on, touch them. If your hand stinks afterward, I'll... Julianne stopped mid-sentence, realizing her mistake. Leo didn't even seem to hear what she was saying. He just muttered to himself, well, if you're insisting I touch them, I guess I can force myself to do it one more time. Uh-huh. You little brat. You were trying to bait me. Julianne immediately pulled her foot back and pinched his ear again. Almost fell for it. Tisich, Leo mumbled, his ears still captive. I don't have a foot fetish. It's not like I wanted to touch your feet. Then why are you blushing? Julianne asked, her long, narrow eyes fixed on Leo's faintly red cheeks. I'm not. Yes, you are. No. Yes. No. Leo, his face burning, tried to look defiant. Is my face really that red? Seeing his beet-red face, Julianne couldn't hold back a laugh. They stared at each other for a few seconds, and then Julianne's face started to turn red, too. Paha. Now, it was Leo's turn to laugh. What are you laughing at? Julianne stood up, gave his shoulder a shove, and said, I'm going to take a shower. Hearing this, Leo's bravado suddenly deflated. So early tonight? Julianne raised an eyebrow, her voice laced with playful mockery. If you're feeling weak, you can surrender now, you know. Leo pointed at her, his voice a mock-ferocious threat. You dare provoke me? You're finished. Leo was faster in the shower. By the time Julianne came out, he was already waiting in the bedroom with a hairdryer. The warm air dried her hair, filling the room with a pleasant, fragrant scent. Fresh from the shower, she was soft and sweet, like a delicious little cupcake. After her hair was dry, Leo leaned in close to her ear and whispered, Babe, my turn. HM. Julianne turned, her gaze falling on his hair. But your hair is already dry. Who said I wanted you to blow-dry my hair? Leo said, tilting his head back and flopping onto the bed. You promised me that back-walking thing with the black stockings. Tonight's the night you make good on that promise. I know, you big pervert. Julianne kicked his thigh playfully before heading to the walk-in closet to find a pair of stockings. Julianne had a perfect figure, with the long legs of supermodel and smooth, fair skin. The black stockings added a whole other layer of allure. You could just tell they smell good by looking. With legs like those, she could easily be a leg model. Hell, she could be a star. The entertainment industry was full of wannabes these days. With her looks and intelligence, Julianne could conquer it. If not a megastar, she could at least become a top-tier celebrity. Hey, stop staring. You're getting a nosebleed. Julianne's voice snapped Leo out of his fantasy and back to reality. Splash, splash, splash. Are you done yet? The nosebleed won't stop. Just give me a minute. In the bathroom, Leo kept splashing his face with cold water, but the blood felt endless. The moment he wiped it away, more would well up in his nostrils. Julianne, who had been waiting outside, was starting to get worried. After nearly 20 minutes of this, the bleeding finally stopped, or rather, it was forcibly stopped. Leo had shoved 2 wads of tissue up his nostrils to plug the flow. Seeing him with tissue sticking out of his nose, Julianne couldn't contain her laughter. Once she composed herself, she asked with concern, Are you okay? I'm fine. Leo shook his head. I'm a young man. It's normal to get a little worked up when you see a beautiful sight. As he spoke, his hand couldn't resist a light, cheeky caress of her stocking-clad leg. Julianne slapped his hand away. Still touching? If you get another nosebleed, don't blame me. I won't, Leo said, flopping face down on the bed. Come on, walk on me. Now I'm seriously starting to suspect you have some kind of secret fetish. You figured it out. Okay, I confess. I have a foot fetish. Oh, why are you so calm about it? The fact that you have a foot fetish is common knowledge. It's not a secret. What's there to be surprised about? Wait, who knows I have a foot fetish? Besides you, nobody knows. All right, shut up and lie still. I'm coming up. The way you said that sounds kind of weird. Get lost. No dirty jokes. Julianne started by using one foot to gently press on his left leg, then his right. Once he was relaxed, she stood with both feet on his legs. His thigh muscles were firm, but not bulky. Long-distance running tends to slim down muscle, so people like Leo who only run and don't intentionally bulk up are usually lean. After his legs, she carefully stepped onto his back. It was less firm than his thighs. Stepping on it felt like standing on a soft, smooth carpet. Leo let out a soft groan. Am I too heavy? Julianne asked. No, not at all, he said, his voice muffled by the bed. That was a groan of comfort. Julianne was on the slender side. Before she got with Leo, she looked almost malnourished, her limbs so thin you could nearly see the bone. With a better diet, her figure had filled out nicely, but she was still light. Her weight was just the right amount of pressure, which was why he'd let out that comfortable sigh. If Damian and Serafina saw this, they'd probably mutter to themselves, you two have a creative love life. But hey, another new move to learn. Hey, not every move is meant to be copied, you know? Anyway, holding onto the headboard for balance, Julianne's small feet began to patter up and down his back. It was a completely new sensation for him. He'd had cheap massages from blind masseuses on the street when his shoulder acted up, but massage with hands was nothing like this. Tendinitis and shoulder pain were common occupational hazards for web novel authors, after all. He'd seen deals for Jade foot back walking on Groupon before, but he'd never tried it. Don't ask why. The answer is that he was a virtuous young man who firmly resisted such foot massage activities. And it definitely wasn't because he was broke. Under Julianne's light steps, Leo felt the tense muscles in his back loosen and a warmth spread through them. He couldn't help but let out another soft groan. Hearing his periodic sighs, Julianne asked curiously, does it really feel that good? Yeah, it's really comfortable. You wanted to walk on your back later? Julianne considered it, imagining Leo's size 12 feet on her back. Yikes, the thought alone was terrifying. What if he lost control of his strength for a second? He could probably snap her in half. No, she quickly refused. Fine, Leo mumbled. No appreciation for a kind offer. Who needs your kind of offer? After the back walking, Leo offered to massage her feet as a way of repaying her, and it definitely wasn't because he wanted to touch her stocking-clad legs, of course, after finishing the massage. Ahem. After kneading her feet, Leo turned off the lights. They slept, and then they slept. Why did they sleep twice? The mystery of that is for you to figure out. The details cannot be shared here. Any young reader who understands immediately is definitely an A+ student. While Leo and Julianne drifted off into a sweet slumber, things were quietly unfolding in other parts of Ethelberg City. The Sterling estate. Third brother, that 10% of shares you hold. On the day of the engagement. Fine, take it if you want. It's no use to me anyway. Sigh, that second brother of ours is dead set on splitting the family. If we don't stop him, the Sterling legacy will truly be ruined in our hands. Big brother, don't talk about him. Sending that bomb to the coal estate was your fault. I was just trying to knock him down a peg. Who knew it would just make him more aggressive? Sigh, I hope this internal strife ends soon. There's been a new development in the fire case from all those years ago. My sources say we'll have answers soon. Really? Are there really answers to be found? Third brother, regardless of the outcome, promise me. After the investigation is over, let go. Stop tormenting yourself. The Jang family casino. Is everything ready? It's all set, Mr. Sterling. Don't you worry. In 3 days, I guarantee they won't be able to hold that engagement ceremony. And you? How are things on your end? You can count on me. This is our first time working together. I hope it concludes on a perfect and pleasant note. You filthy rat. Shut up. Don't you dare call me that. The park where Damian confessed. Serafina, I've been so worried lately. Don't be. No matter what happens, I'll be with you. The next morning, Leo awoke from a pleasant dream to the fragrant aroma of beef soup. Julianne had made braised beef noodles for breakfast, and not the instant ramen kind Damian loved. This was the real deal. Authentic braised beef with handmade noodles. She had woken up early, thawed the beef from the fridge, and stewed it for half an hour. While the beef was stewing, she pulled 2 bowls of fresh noodles. Her skills were impressive. The handmade noodles were perfectly chewy with a rich texture. Paired with the tender, slow-cooked beef, every bite of noodles and meat was a taste of heaven. Leo devoured his bowl. I didn't know you could pull noodles, he said between mouthfuls. MHM. Julianne replied nonchalantly. It's normal to know how to make noodles, isn't it? My mom taught me how to knead dough when I was little. What's so strange about it? Leo paused, taken aback. Right, what was he thinking? Ethelberg was, culturally, more like a northern city. It wasn't that unusual to eat handmade noodles. It was people in SoCal who, when they said they were having noodles, usually meant boiling some dried pasta from a supermarket or, even simpler, a packet of instant ramen. Even when SoCal people made dumplings, they rarely hand-rolled the wrappers, usually opting for store-bought ones or just boiling frozen dumplings. To someone from Ethelberg, that would be seen as a sign of disrespect to your guests. As a native of the city, eating handmade noodles was nothing to be surprised about, was it? With that thought, Leo went back to attacking his bowl. "Slow down. No one's going to steal it from you," Julianne said, a satisfied smile on her face. The highest compliment you could pay a chef was to wolf down their food. "I'm heading upstairs. You clean up the table when you're done." "Got it." In a few quick moves, Leo finished his massive bowl of noodles. After breakfast, he cleared the table and loaded the dishes and pot into the dishwasher. Once that was done, he went upstairs to find Julianne. She was on the second-floor balcony, reclining in the sun with her laptop, her fingers flying across the keyboard. He guessed she'd had a sudden burst of inspiration and was busy getting it down. Leo leaned against the doorframe, quietly watching her work, not wanting to disturb her. What he didn't know was that Julianne had already seen his reflection in the computer screen. She smiled silently to herself at his careful attempt to go unnoticed, but she didn't let on. They remained like that, two people silently aware of each other's presence. After some time, Julianne finally finished polishing her novel's outline. She closed her laptop and turned around, only to find that Leo was no longer behind her. Where'd he go? He was just standing there. She got up to look for him. Flush. As she entered the bedroom, she heard the toilet flush. "Hey, you're done already?" Leo asked, opening the bathroom door and looking surprised to see her standing there. "Yeah," Julianne nodded. She looked at his slightly flushed face. "Why is your face so red?" Her question made Leo's face turn an even deeper shade of red. He scratched his head sheepishly. "A little. Constipated." "Okay, never mind, I asked." Julianne covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Then, as if a mischievous thought had struck her, she leaned in and whispered in his ear, "I hear. Can help with that. EW." Hearing her whisper, Leo's eyes bulged like a goldfish's. He looked at her with a mixture of horror and disgust. "You're terrifying. Are you even a girl? How do you know about stuff like that?" With that, he clamped his hands over his rear end and bolted from the bedroom. Julianne chased after him, laughing. "Haha, why are you running? It's not like I have the equipment for that. I'm not going to do anything to you." Their playful chase led them back out to the balcony to sunbathe. The weather was perfect. No wind, just a gentle sun that was warm but not hot. "Leo, spring is here." Julianne sighed contentedly from her lounge chair. "Yeah, winter's over. Spring is here. It's beautiful." Of course, things weren't so great down in the south right now. With the arrival of spring came the humid season. Walls, floors, windows, even sofas would be slick with condensation. This could last anywhere from a few days to a whole month. If you weren't careful, everything you owned would be moldy by the end of spring. Up here in Ethelberg, they didn't have to worry about that. Wait, why am I, an Ethelberg native, worrying about southern weather? Leo wondered, shaking his head to clear the random thoughts. Julianne tilted her head, smiling at him. "I'm surprised you said it's beautiful." Leo asked, confused. "What else would I say? I thought you were going to say, spring is here, the time when animals." Hey. Leo cut her off before she could finish her dirty joke. "I'm not like you, with your mind constantly in the gutter." Julianne retorted defiantly. "I'm a girl. I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't even like video games. What's wrong with being a little thirsty for my boyfriend?" "But, no, that's not right, is it?" Leo scratched his head. "Those are lines a guy is supposed to say. It's called beating a man at his own game." Fine, I can't win with you." "Mwaha." Julianne let out a triumphant, villainous laugh. The warm sun was making Leo's eyelids heavy. Despite just waking up, a wave of drowsiness washed over him, pulling him under like a tide. Lily, what do you think if we planted some?" "Lily?" "Leo." Julianne called his name a few times. When he didn't respond, she turned to look and found that he had, at some point, fallen asleep. Sleep. You just woke up and you're already asleep again. You're like a big lazy pig, sleeping all the time." Julianne muttered, playfully reaching out to pinch his nose. But he seemed to be in a deep sleep. No matter what she did, he didn't stir. If it weren't for the fact that he was still breathing, she might have worried that he'd suddenly kicked the bucket. The projects, no matter how bright the sun shone, its rays couldn't penetrate the dense maze of buildings packed together like dominoes. The human filing cabinets on the outer ring might catch a sliver of light, but the closer you got to the center of the projects, the less sunlight you saw. A chaotic mess of illegal structures blotted out the sky, casting oppressive, suffocating shadows. The greatest fear in the projects was fire. In a place like this, a single spark could ignite a catastrophe of unimaginable scale. It was a true domino effect. Once the first piece fell, a chain reaction would send the flames spreading uncontrollably until the damage was irreversible. That was why the fire at Big Mike the Butcher's place late last year had caused such a panic. Fortunately, it had been discovered quickly. The cool temperature and lack of wind that day helped, and the fire was extinguished before anyone was hurt. Afterward, Big Mike and his daughter, Susie, had gone door to door, apologizing to their neighbors to quell their anger, which was the only reason they weren't run out of the neighborhood. A few days ago, Big Mike had suddenly moved. He, his wife, and his daughter had left without a word. No one knew where they went. In fact, if the landlord hadn't come to inspect the property, no one would have even known they were gone. The butcher shop had been closed for days. A plain-looking young man walked up to Mrs. Gable's vegetable stand, smiling. "Hello, ma'am. How much for the cauliflower?" "$1.90 a pound," Mrs. Gable said, tearing off a plastic bag and holding it open for him. The young man casually picked a head of cauliflower and put it in the bag. "This one's good. Anything else?" "Nope, that's it. $3.50. You got it." The young man paid quickly. As if it were an afterthought, he asked, "Ma'am, is there a butcher shop around here? I want to get some pork belly to go with this cauliflower." "Well, there is." Mrs. Gable pointed to Big Mike's shop not far away. "There used to be one right there, but Mike hasn't opened up in a few days." "What happened?" the young man asked with interest. "Is the owner sick?" "I don't think so. Mike always looked healthy. I've never seen him seriously ill in all these years," Mrs. Gable said, shaking her head. "I heard from a neighbor that he moved. I don't know if he'll be back to sell meat. There are a few other places over by the east gate of Market Street. You could try there, but it's a bit of a walk." "Great, thanks, ma'am." The young man thanked her politely, then asked another question. "That's strange, though. There are no other butcher shops around here. Business must have been good, right? Why would he just pack up and leave?" Mrs. Gable nodded with a smile. His shop was definitely the most popular in the area. He was good-natured and knew how to do business. If customers wanted a slice, a mince, or a bone removed, he'd do it. Sometimes he'd even give away leftover good cuts to neighbors. Everyone really liked him. So he must have been a skilled butcher then? Of course. You can't be a butcher if your knife skills are bad. You wouldn't last in this line of work. Do you know where he moved? That. I don't know. I'm just an old woman. Why would I care where other people move? Huh? Mrs. Gable laughed it off. The young man didn't press further. He said thank you and headed in the direction of the east gate. Mrs. Gable settled back into her chair, taking a moment to adjust her hat, the hand-knitted one Clara Hale had made for her. It was so warm and comfortable, she never wanted to take it off. Business was slow all morning. Sitting at her stand, Mrs. Gable eventually dozed off. "Hey, wake up, lazybones. Time for lunch." Leo, lying on a lounge chair, rubbed his eyes and groggily rolled over. Thump. "Ow. Ha ha, are you an idiot?" Julianne howled with merciless laughter at the sight of Leo sprawled on the floor. Leo rubbed his eyes, a pained smile on his face. "How did I fall asleep in a chair?" "You didn't just fall asleep, you were out cold." "I couldn't even wake you up," Julianne said, extending a hand to him. Leo took her hand and pulled himself up, but he didn't let go. Instead, he wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her into a big hug. Whenever they slept together, Julianne loved to wake up and cuddle with Leo for a while. Eventually, Leo started doing the same, clinging to her like a koala after waking up. Over time, it had become their post-nap ritual, like how you instinctively reach for your phone the moment you open your eyes. Strange, why isn't the first thing you do in the morning hugging your partner and saying, "Good morning, babe"? Is it because you don't have one? Heh, get up, stop messing around, Julianne said, giving him a gentle push. "I've got soup on the stove. Let's go downstairs and eat." Okay. Leo nodded and followed her downstairs like a good boy. Julianne had made a simple seaweed and egg drop soup and stir-fry pork with green peppers, which they had with the leftover braised beef from the morning. Another simple, heartwarming lunch. Leo devoured his food as if he hadn't eaten breakfast, like a man possessed by a starving ghost, as Julianne would say. "Slow down. No one's gonna take it from you," she chided. "You're supposed to chew your food slowly, you know? It's bad for your stomach. But your cooking is just too good," Leo said, grinning like a 200-pound grandson raised by his grandma. After 2 large bowls of rice, he drank a big bowl of soup and let out a satisfyingly loud burp. Burp. The sound itself, even just written down, conveyed its impressive volume. After the meal, he was on cleanup duty again. Julianne offered to help wipe the table, but he shooed her away. She had cooked, so he would handle the aftermath. After Julianne went upstairs, Leo quickly cleared the table and put the dishes in the dishwasher. He tidied up the kitchen and poured himself a glass of water. Ugh! He'd barely taken 2 sips when a wave of nausea hit him. He quickly put the glass down and rushed to the bathroom. The weekend ended, and in a blink, it was Monday. After 2 days of nonstop engagement prep, Damian and Serafina were not in good shape. They showed up to class with dark circles under their eyes. Serafina, Julianne whispered during class, "If I remember correctly, your engagement is tomorrow, right?" "Yeah." Serafina nodded. "I've barely slept for 2 weeks because of this. I feel like my heart is starting to hurt. Do you think I'm about to die from exhaustion?" "Don't say that." Julianne quickly patted her hand. "Tomorrow is your engagement party. No talking about bad luck." "Okay, Serafina managed a small smile. "You should come stay at my place tonight. You can help me with my makeup and get dressed in the morning." Julianne smiled. "You have so many maids at home. You need my help." "Maids are maids, sisters are sisters. It's not the same," Serafina said, grabbing Julianne's hand. "Besides, I feel safer sleeping when I'm holding you. A sense of security means better sleep quality, and good sleep means I'll look better in the photos tomorrow, right?" Julianne laughed at her logic. "I'm not a teddy bear. How is hugging me going to help you sleep?" "It works. Who would say no to sleeping with a girl who smells so good?" Serafina said, wrapping her arms around Julianne's waist. Stop it." Julianne gently pushed her away. "Serafina, you've gotten so bold lately, hugging me in the middle of class." Serafina had changed. She was no longer the reserved, proper girl from before. It was clear Damian had been a bad influence. "Damian?" Fine, blame everything on me, right? Always putting pressure on me. I was the one led astray by Leo." In the back row, Leo poked Damian, who was busy playing a game on his phone. "What?" Damian turned to look at him. Leo pointed to the front row. "Your girlfriend is hugging my girlfriend." "Yes, so?" Damian looked at him, completely baffled. "What? You wanted to hug you too? We're in a classroom. That's not really appropriate, is it? Get lost." Leo shot back, his face a mask of exasperation. "I wouldn't let you hug me, even if we weren't in a classroom. You're acting like a creep." He stared at Damian with disgust. 2 beautiful girls hugging was a pleasing sight. 2 handsome guys hugging. Yikes! The thought alone was horrifying. "Miller, about my engagement tomorrow." "I know. No, I'm getting nervous again." "Didn't you just get over your pre-wedding anxiety?" "It's not pre-wedding anxiety this time." "What is it then?" I don't know. I've just been feeling anxious lately. The closer the engagement gets, the more I panic. Sounds to me like you're just sleep-deprived. Extreme fatigue can cause an irregular heartbeat, you know?" Leo said with a shrug, glancing at Damian. "Whoa." Damian's eyes widened in surprise. "I didn't know you could diagnose people, Miller." "I can't," Leo said, shaking his head. "Then why were you talking all seriously about an irregular heartbeat?" "Oh, I was just making it up." Damian stared at him, speechless. "What? You didn't actually believe me, did you?" Stop laughing. I'm serious." "Miller, why don't you come stay at my place tonight?" "Why would I do that?" Leo asked, instinctively inching away. Damian looked offended. "I'm asking you to stay at my house, not with me." "What's with that disgusted look?" "Nope. I'm not going anywhere tonight. I'm staying in the dorm." "Fine. If you don't want to, then don't." Damian sighed. "But you have to come early to the party tomorrow." Yeah, sure, whatever." "Could you be any more dismissive?" "MHM." Damian shot him a withering glare. "Oh, I just remembered. I haven't requested the day off from our advisor yet." Leo picked up his phone and submitted a request through the university portal. Tomorrow was Tuesday, a full day of classes. Damian had already spoken to Mr. Chase about the engagement, so he and Serafina had been approved for leave long ago. After submitting his request, Leo messaged Julianne to do the same, so Mr. Chase could approve them both at once. Julianne saw the message and quickly submitted her request. The moment Leo notified Mr. Chase, the approval came through instantly. The advisor didn't even ask a single question. Monday afternoon was just 2 classes. Afterward, Damian and Serafina left campus directly without returning to the dorm. Leo knew Julianne was going to stay with Serafina, so they went to the cafeteria for an early dinner together. Around 7:30, the driver Serafina had arranged arrived to pick up Julianne. And just like that, Leo was the only one left in both dorm rooms combined. He suddenly regretted not taking Damian up on his offer. Now he was bored and alone. As he was thinking, a wave of nausea rolled through his stomach. He scrambled to grab the trash can in his bedroom and started vomiting. He didn't know why, but for the past few days, he felt sick every time he ate. Over the weekend at home with Julianne, he had hidden in the bathroom every time, telling her it was just constipation. It was a lie. The reason his face was flushed whenever he came out of the bathroom was from the strain of heaving. He vomited everything he'd eaten for dinner into the trash can. He pulled a tissue from the box on his desk to wipe his mouth and saw it was stained with blood. Startled, he ran to the bathroom mirror and realized the blood was from his nose. His nosebleeds had become more frequent lately, and he never even felt them starting. After cleaning himself up, Leo walked out of the bathroom, grabbed his car keys, and left the dorm. All your vitals are normal, and we didn't find any abnormalities. The endoscopy came back clean. Then why do I keep throwing up? I feel sick right after I eat. It could be related to your eating habits. Indigestion can cause vomiting. I'd recommend a blander diet, smaller meals more frequently throughout the day. Don't overeat, avoid cold or raw foods, and chew thoroughly when you eat. So there's really nothing wrong with me? Rest assured, based on a comprehensive assessment of your endoscopy and CT scan images, your body is in excellent condition. Compared to the typical health metrics for your age group, your physical indicators are superior. We found no significant abnormalities in your digestive system or other related organs. If I'm in such good condition, why do I keep getting nosebleeds? There's no sign of swelling in your nasal passages, and we can rule out common conditions like rhinitis. We're currently in the transition from winter to spring, and temperature fluctuations are significant. This climate factor is the most likely cause of your nosebleeds. Since it's late tonight, if you're available tomorrow, I'd suggest making an appointment with an ENT specialist. They have the expertise and more precise equipment to conduct a thorough examination and pinpoint the root cause. So I'm really fine. If you don't trust my medical opinion, you're welcome to get a second opinion at another hospital. If another doctor tells you something different, I'll personally reimburse you for today's visit. No, of course not, Leo said quickly, waving his hands. Thank you, doctor. I trust your judgment. He turned and walked out of the examination room. Despite his words, he did, in fact, go to another hospital for a second opinion. The diagnosis was more or less the same. All vitals normal, perfectly healthy. With 2 different hospitals confirming he was fine, Leo finally breathed a sigh of relief. By the time he was done with both checkups, it was already 11 o'clock. He tossed the CT scans and endoscopy reports into a trash can outside the hospital. Scaring myself for nothing, he muttered, patting his chest. His stomach was empty, so he decided to get something to eat. The endoscopy had been horrifying. A tube shoved down his throat all the way to his stomach, with 2 nurses holding him down. He felt like a pig on a slaughtering table at Christmas, waiting for its throat to be slit. It was a terrifying feeling only someone who's had an endoscopy could understand. There was a street food market a couple of blocks from the hospital. He parked his car and was just about to get out when his phone rang. It was Damian. What's he doing calling me at 11 at night? Leo thought as he answered. Hey, what's up, Stir? Leo. It's bad. Nico kidnapped your girlfriend and my girlfriend. Kidnapped? What do you mean, kidnapped? Leo didn't process it for a second. He repeated the word to himself, and then his voice shot up. What? Kidnapped? Nico kidnapped my girlfriend. Yes, kidnapped. Who told you? What happened? Tell me now. It was your girlfriend. She called me a few hours earlier. After getting in the car Serafina had arranged, Julianne arrived at the Rose estate, but Serafina was nowhere to be seen. Only Serafina's aunt was there to greet her. Serafina's aunt was Jeremy Rose's mother. Julianne already had a bad impression of Jeremy, so she was wary of his mother as well. When a woman offered her tea, Julianne didn't drink it, secretly pouring it into a nearby trash can. She messaged Serafina, but there was no reply. A sense of unease settled over her, but she pretended everything was fine and continued chatting with Jeremy's mother. She thought her act was convincing, but she hadn't counted on the fact that Serafina's phone was in her aunt's possession. When the woman saw the message preview from Julianne on the lock screen, she dropped the act and immediately called her men to seize Julianne. See? This is the downside of not setting your notifications to private. A single girl against a team of professional bodyguards? The moment she was discovered, Julianne surrendered. It was only then that she realized with a jolt that this wasn't Serafina's home at all. It was Jeremy's. The car Serafina had supposedly sent was actually dispatched by Jeremy's mother after she saw Julianne's message on Serafina's phone. It was Julianne's first time visiting, so she didn't know the way or what the house looked like. If she had ever been there before, she would have noticed the route was wrong. But now it was too late. Jeremy's mother had her hands and feet tied and locked her in the attic. Miss Hale, rest assured, I won't harm you. I know you are to be the daughter-in-law of the Miller family. If it weren't for that bitch Serafina, our family would have no quarrel with you. I do apologize, but you must be inconvenienced for one night. Once our business is concluded tomorrow, I will release you immediately. Julianne gritted her teeth, glaring at the woman. You dare tie me up for a whole night? When my boyfriend finds out, he won't spare any of you. I didn't expect that little bastard to invite you over tonight. If you want to blame someone, blame her for dragging you into this, Jeremy's mother said, pressing her palms together and bowing to Julianne. This was a sudden and urgent matter, a last resort. Please, try to calm your anger for now. We will visit you in person to apologize and express our sincerity. With that, the woman ignored Julianne's threats and left the attic. You two, guard her well. If anything happens to her, it's your heads. Yes, ma'am, the two bodyguards at the door replied in unison. Tied up like a caterpillar, Julianne scanned the attic, her eyes finally landing on a slightly rusted metal bedpost. She closed her eyes and thought for about half an hour, then shouted at the door. Is anyone out there? I have to use the bathroom. Let me out. I am the future matriarch of the Ethelberg Miller family. If you don't let me out and I piss myself, my boyfriend will make sure everyone who knows about this disappears. I just need to go to the bathroom. I swear I won't run. If you don't believe me, you could tie a rope to my leg and hold it from outside the bathroom door. What do? The boss lady treated this girl with so much respect. We probably shouldn't mess with her. So we let her out to use the bathroom. Fine. We'll do as she says. Tie a rope to her leg. If she tries to run, two big guys like us can easily handle a weak girl like her. Besides, there are a dozen more guys downstairs. The bodyguard's fears were unnecessary. The moment Julianne heard from Jeremy's mother that she wouldn't be harmed, she had no intention of escaping. The two bodyguards untied Julianne and took her downstairs to the bathroom. While inside, Julianne scanned her surroundings, spent about 3 minutes in there, and then obediently walked out and returned to the attic. The two bodyguards tied her up again. Hey, you two, be a little gentler. My hands are already red. If you tie it this tight all night, my wrists will be raw. My boyfriend will be heartbroken when he sees. The bodyguards looked at each other, unsure of what to do. Don't tell me you're actually afraid of a helpless girl like me. I really won't run, I promise. Just loosen a little bit. As Julianne spoke, she struggled slightly against the ropes. Her movement put the two guards on high alert. Sorry, Miss Hale, one of them said. We're just doing our job. We don't have the authority to do that. Not only did they retie her hands and feet, but they tied them even tighter. You bastards. Just you wait. When I get out of here, you're finished. My boyfriend is going to come and kill you all. As Julianne's angry curses echoed behind them, the two bodyguards walked out of the attic. Once the door was shut, Julianne muttered a few more useless insults. When all was quiet outside, she stopped, a triumphant, conspiratorial smile spreading across her face. In the bathroom, she had accomplished 2 things in 3 minutes. First, she had secretly sent a message to Damian on her smartwatch, telling him to rescue Serafina immediately. The watch was part of the all-in-one Apple product set that Leo had bought her, the prize she'd won in the raffle. She rarely wore it, usually only during boring lectures to check the time or scroll through notifications. Afterward, she would just toss it in her pocket. She never thought the habit would come in handy at a critical moment like this. The biggest mistake Jeremy's mother had made was not searching her. But then again, this was probably her first time doing something like this. She was likely nervous and afraid of retaliation, so she hadn't dared. After sending the message, Julianne had slipped the metal watch band into her back pocket and tucked the watch face inside her bra. That was only the first thing. The second was that she had deliberately wet her sleeves and the hemp rope binding her. She did this because when natural fibers absorb water, the molecules penetrate the fibers, breaking down the hydrogen bonds. This causes the fibers to swell and soften, reducing their tensile strength and durability. While friction might increase in a damp state, the overall structure becomes looser, making the surface fibers more susceptible to breaking. A wet hemp rope's tensile strength could decrease by about 15 to 20%, accelerating wear and tear. Her earlier plea to loosen the ropes was also deliberate, intended to make them suspicious and tighten them instead. A taut rope is easier to saw through than a loose one. With her hands and feet bound, Julianne lay on the floor and, like a caterpillar, wriggled over to the bed, propping her body against the rusty metal bedpost. After pinpointing the position with her fingers, she began to gently rub the rope on her wrists against the rusted metal. The rope wasn't particularly thick. She estimated that at this rate, she could saw through the outer strand in under an hour. Once one strand was broken, the rope wouldn't be able to hold her. But it happened faster than she expected. After about half an hour of determined friction, the rope binding her hand snapped. A stronger person could have probably done it even faster. Once her hands were free, it only took a few more minutes to untie her ankles. She tied the ropes back together, creating one long line. But that wasn't all. She quietly climbed to the window, took down the attic curtains, and wove them together with the rope, making it even longer. She secured the sturdier, curtain-reinforced end to the window's fixed latch and slowly lowered the rope outside. As she did, she noticed several cars drive toward the villa and park in 2 rows on the street far below. Unsure if they were friend or foe, she sped up. The length of 2 ropes and 2 curtains only reached the 2nd floor of the villa and was extremely flimsy. A rope that could be frayed in minutes couldn't be very strong. The chances of successfully climbing down were slim. This wasn't some cheesy YA novel where the heroine, grounded by her father, escapes a heavily guarded mansion with 2 bedsheets. But that was fine. Julianne hadn't made the rope to escape anyway. As she'd thought before, she never had any intention of escaping. She took off her shoes. She placed one on the windowsill and wrapped the other in the duvet from the bed, then tossed it out the window. After that, she quickly hid under the bed. She waited for about a minute, maybe 2, when she suddenly heard a shout from downstairs. She's escaped. The attic door burst open, and a stampede of footsteps made Julianne hold her breath. Damn it! How did she get the ropes off? Never mind that. She can't have gotten far. Go after her. The footsteps were even more frantic as they rushed out. The room was still dimly lit by the light from the hallway. In their haste, the bodyguards hadn't shut the door. In this situation, anyone would assume Julianne had escaped down the rope. They were all in a hurry to find her. Who would think she was still in the attic? Who would care about locking the door? Of course, Julianne didn't rush out from under the bed. She had all night to play a little game with these guys, a game of cat and mouse. What she needed to do now was figure out how to avoid the security cameras between the attic and the bathroom she'd used earlier. As she was thinking, she felt the watch hidden in her bra vibrate. She took it out. It was a message from Leo. Leo, you okay? Seeing his message, Julianne smiled silently and replied, Julianne, okay? Leo, my people are at the gate. Message me the second you're in danger. Julianne, 111. When she'd messaged Damian from the bathroom, she had stressed twice that he shouldn't tell Leo she'd been kidnapped, precisely because she didn't want him to worry. But Damian had told him anyway. This, too, was within her expectations. Damian didn't have the cunning to keep such a huge secret to himself. With Leo as her solid backup, Julianne felt completely at ease. Meanwhile, Leo had already rendezvoused with Damian. Miller, are you sure you don't need to go rescue Julianne? Damian asked anxiously from the passenger seat. She's not in any danger. A small smile played on Leo's lips. The dumbest thing Jeremy Rose did wasn't kidnapping your fiancée, Serafina. It was kidnapping Julianne. What do you mean? Tonight, if Jeremy had only taken Serafina, he'd only have to face your wrath. But since he took Julianne, he's facing the wrath of 3 people. Counting you, who else? My girlfriend, of course, Leo said, matter-of-factly, before turning his focus back to the road. Your girlfriend has been kidnapped. How is she going to get revenge on Jeremy? Kidnapped? Huh. Leo laughed at Damian's question. He laughed because Damian still didn't understand Julianne at all. The only person in this world who could tie down Julianne Hale is me. No one else. You mean she's already safe? More or less? Leo mused for a moment, then asked with a grin, do you know what it means to lock a mouse in a pantry? A mouse in a pantry means the food will get eaten. Not just that. The mouse will also chew a giant hole in the pantry door. You're saying your girlfriend is not only fine, but she's also going to wreck Jeremy Rose's house. Probably. I don't know for sure, Leo said with a shrug. The priority right now is to catch Jeremy. Honestly, Leo wasn't too worried about Serafina's capture either. She was a main character. She had plot armor. Logically speaking, she wouldn't die. Upon learning his fiancée was in danger, Damian had immediately ordered his people to track Serafina and Jeremy's phones. Serafina's phone was currently with Jeremy's mother. He sent a team to apprehend her while he went after Jeremy himself. Why didn't Damian call the police? Because the police had to follow rules. Damian's people didn't. This was a matter that didn't require official involvement. Besides, in a billionaire CEO romance novel, the police are largely useless. That, too, had become part of the world's logic. So, it was perfectly reasonable for an alpha billionaire to chase down the kidnappers himself, right? Once they hit the suburbs, Leo floored it, pushing the engine so hard it felt like it would start smoking. Finally, after racking up who knows how many speeding tickets, they caught up to Jeremy's car. Damian rolled down his window and roared, "Pull over. Pull the hell over now." Jeremy ignored him and accelerated. "Roll up the window and hold on. I'm hitting the gas," Leo yelled to Damian. Seeing that Jeremy wouldn't stop, he stomped on the accelerator. It was the first time he'd ever driven this fast. For a moment, he felt like he was a kid again, playing Need for Speed on his computer. Damian's car was clearly superior to Jeremy's. Soon, Leo had overtaken him. He swerved in front of Jeremy's car and then, like a madman, slammed on the brakes to force him to stop. In truth, Leo was making a bet. He had been driving like a maniac this whole time without a single accident, which had led him to a bold theory. He wanted to test it. He was betting that with Damian's protagonist plot armor, this car couldn't crash. Not only was he betting on Damian being safe, but he was also betting that Serafina, in the other car, had her own main character plot armor and would also be fine. However, Leo's bet was bigger than he realized. Jeremy, the coward, was terrified by Leo's kamikaze maneuver. He slammed his foot on the brake. The car fishtailed wildly before crashing into the guardrail on the side of the road and coming to a halt. The impact was light enough that the airbags didn't even deploy. The moment Jeremy's car stopped, Damian burst out and ran to it. Serafina really was inside. MMPH. MMPH. Serafina, bound and gagged, had been sinking into despair. But seeing Damian suddenly appear, a light returned to her eyes. Tears streamed uncontrollably from her wide, wronged eyes. Jeremy rose. I'll kill you. Seeing his girlfriend in this state, Damian's rage exploded. Blood rushed to his head, his eyes turned crimson, and he became a feral beast. He grabbed Jeremy's hair and slammed his face into the steering wheel again and again, with unrestrained fury. Honk, 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 honk. The horn blared incessantly as Jeremy's face was repeatedly smashed against it. His gold-rimmed glasses shattered, the shards cutting his eyelids, nose, and forehead. Bright red blood smeared across his face, making his injuries look far worse than they were. Jeremy, with his frail, almost feminine build, couldn't even think of fighting back. After a few more punches from Damian, he was on the verge of passing out. All he could do was apologize and beg for mercy. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was all Nico's idea. He forced me to do it. Don't hit me. I was forced. Please, let me go. I'll kill you. Damian wasn't listening to a word of it. His clenched fist just kept pummeling Jeremy's face. Jeremy's pleas were useless. It was only when Leo, who had parked the car, came over and pulled him off that Damian regained a sliver of sanity. Damian, forget this cannon fodder. Go check on your girlfriend. Snapped back to reality, Damian immediately scrambled into the back seat to untie Serafina. Wah! Wah! The moment Damian ripped the tape from her mouth, her heartbroken sobs filled the car. They clung to each other in a tight embrace. Leo dragged Jeremy out of the driver's seat and kicked him hard in the knee. Arg! He screamed, clutching his knee as he crumpled to the ground. Leo's voice was ice. Talk. What was Nico's plan for tonight? Tell me everything. Nico wanted to ruin tomorrow's engagement party. So he arranged for me to drug everyone at Serafina's house with sleeping gas. Then, when everyone was unconscious, I was supposed to kidnap Serafina and hide her where no one would know. Listening to Jeremy, Leo felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. He wished Julianne were here. Her mind worked so fast. She would have figured it out in an instant. After a few seconds of thought, Leo asked, "Did he tell you where to take her?" Originally, I was supposed to take her to the basement of the casino. What casino? The Jang family's casino. Where is it? In the projects, on the east side of the city. There's a rundown club there. The casino is in the basement, from B1 to B3. It's huge. So, why didn't you take her there? Because your girlfriend. Nico found out that my mother had kidnapped your girlfriend. He chewed me out and then told me to drive Serafina in this direction, get on the freeway, and just drive in circles on the Beltway all night. I was supposed to wait for his signal to go back. Hearing this, Leo's brow tightened. He spun around and yelled at Damian in the car. Damian, let's go. Your brother played us.